Welcome in. Welcome, one and all. It is The Rant. I'm Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios on the beautiful south side of Chicago. We bring you hot topics, current events, and all the things that people are buzzing about every day around about 12 p.m. And we bring it to you in a way that you can't find anywhere else. Not going to find this on AM talk radio, no, because they subscribe to one way of thinking and one way of thinking only. Now, I spent my better part of my youth, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s. I spent it working in talk radio, a different kind of talk radio, the kind of talk radio that doesn't exist anymore because of, as I said, every city's got a WLS that is telling you how to vote. If it's Dallas, there's a couple in Dallas, but it's WBAP. Those people on the air there get the jobs because they are saying exactly the kinds of things the people who pay the checks want to hear said to us, the peasants. Do a different kind of talk radio, lifestyle talk, current events talk. I don't care how you voted. You shouldn't care how I voted. If I'm doing my show properly, I think that you would probably listen to me and go, I have no idea if that dude is right or left. I have no idea. And that's how I feel most of us are. To that point, 70% of us, that's the number I put on it. 70% of us are that. Normal people. Just normal people. But how do we get to that 70? Because on the right, there is 15% lunatics, the people who still wait in rain for 3 hours to listen to an 80-year-old man belch the alphabet, right? Those people, their closet is filled with red hats and stupid shirts with slogans on it. That's 15%. Those people are gone. The show ain't for them. I don't want them here. All they'll do is make our chat room suck. But we also have the left. We've got the 15% on the left. That's right. Those are the weirdos. Those are the ones that are just so insufferable because every response to everything is something that this is the worst. They're drama queens. They're weird theater type people. And mostly they're the types that sit around and try to figure out how to destroy the business of the local Tesla dealership. That 15% on the left, they're nuts too. They're gone. So if 15 on the right is gone and 15 on the left is gone, that leaves us the 70 normal people, and we do this show for you every day. We have a chat room that I love. The chat room, we like to reward the podium for the chat room every day. That's something that I borrowed from Formula One racing. That's where they reward the first, the second, and the third place. So let's find out who is our podium for today. All right, hold on. I got to go back. Look at this. In first place today. Oh, wow. I love this. Oh, nice. Very good. Thank you, folks. Look at this. We've got a fairly unique podium. In first place today, we've got Peter. He's not a stranger to the podium. Peter in first place. In second place, Tracy D. Look at Tracy D. All right, let's give Tracy, she's on the podium and she had something to say. Tracy says, just jumping in to say hi before I go into ninja mode to watch this. Oh, okay, well, welcome in. Welcome in. So it's going to be Peter, Tracy, and hola, amigos. My buddy Al. It's my not Italian buddy Al. I don't know, Al Gamboa. Hey, where'd you get those VCRs? Al Gamboa. Yeah, you got some. I don't know. Every time I hear Al Gamboa, I think, but I know Al, and Al's not. Al's I guess Mexican. I guess he should be Italian. I'm just saying, missed opportunity. I mean, I don't know if that's a missed opportunity. Thank you so much to Peter, Tracy, and Al in the chat room. They are today's podium. Man, oh man, it is one of them. It is one of them days here in Chicago that I just absolutely love. I'm a little strange though. I like it when it's overcast, warm, gray, and rainy. It is one of them sleepy, crawl back into bed kind of days. Rainy. Oh, it's nice. Let's see. What is the weather right now? It was beautiful all weekend here in Chicago. It was like, woo, if you need a reminder that this is the absolute best summer city in America, this weekend was a good way to kick it off. It was fantastic. All right, what do we got here? Currently, we're at 70 degrees, really? 70? What do they call it? Severe thunderstorm watch, though, is going on right now until about 5 o'clock tonight. All right, you and I. You and I, we're going to hang out through the severe thunderstorm watch that we're going through. Bad weather all over the place, I guess. All right, that was the big story yesterday. The 30 million Americans. And I'm like, well, there's like 400 million Americans. So that's not really. So why are you presenting it like 30 million? I'm like, but there's 400. Anyway, the Midwest getting crushed with tornadoes over the next couple of days. Everywhere from North Texas straight up through across Lake Michigan into the state of Michigan. That's what's going on today. So we're going to try and weather through that. No pun intended. Let me say hi to some other folks in the chat room here. Who do we got before we get started today? Because I got a lot of stuff I want to get into. And then I got stuff I got to do after the show. And then my schedule is going to flatten out and get normal here very soon in the next couple of days. So we'll be able to do some of the longer shows, and I'll be able to do some of the things that I've been trying to do. But you'll see. All right. There's Taronda. I was like, where is Taronda? She's always on the podium. She was not on the podium today, but we won't hold it against her because she's a Hall of Famer. She's earned to not be on the podium one day. Barney's here, of course. What up, Barnes? Al, as I said, Al. Anybody else? We're looked at in the chat room. It is a Monday. Mikey D, Adam, Byron. Here we go. A little bit in the chat room. All right, come on. Let's go. Bring a friend week here on the Daily Rant. We got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. We're gonna there's nothing really big, I mean, we'll check in, I guess, on our rant. We'll check in on the wars and stuff like that. But I want to spend time talking about fun stuff today. Well, actually, I shouldn't say fun stuff because we are gonna cover the Austin shooting spree yesterday. Did you guys follow this over the weekend? Geez. Man, I'm just trying to disconnect from the world. Remember Friday, I gave you this big rant about distractions and about how important distractions are to us. If you're a woman, maybe it's binging 7 hours of Real Housewives because that's your thing. If you're a guy, it's like just embedding yourself in, baseball for 9 innings, whatever it is, distractions. We need them. So I'm like neck deep in my baseball distraction over the weekend, and all of a sudden we got something horrifying that happened in Austin, and I honestly can't figure out why more people aren't talking about it this Monday morning. I mean, it's, there was a spree shooting carried out by multiple teenagers between Saturday and Sunday throughout Austin. 12 different shootings. We'll talk about it, but man, have we been normalized? Is the only thing that gets our attention anymore, and you know what I mean by attention, there was a time when these things happened where we would drop everything to be like, what's happening? It was a big deal. CNN, Anderson Cooper was there at the school or whatever, There was a time when now these things don't even measure a blip because they've been normalized. We are now normalized that we live in the Old West. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Austin shooting. We're going to get into Luigi. He's in court. I want to talk a little bit about this Spencer Pratt guy. He's running for mayor of LA. And, we don't care about mayor of LA around here. Who cares? But I do want to talk a little bit about this cult of personality, this misconception, I think, that people have of what our elected officials are. Spencer Pratt, somebody who I always thought was a bad guy in reality TV. People are now voting for him. Because they know him from reality TV, but don't believe the character he played. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit. Trump's tweeting out or truthing out fun stuff, so we'll talk about that. We've got an update on Chud the Builder. We're going to talk a little bit about Ronda Rousey over the weekend coming back to fight Gina Carano. I've got some hot takes on that. Mike Tyson is telling stories about the fabled you ever heard the story about Brad Pitt banging Robin Givens and Mike Tyson showing up? Yeah. Unexpectedly. Mike Tyson's finally talking about, well, not finally, but he actually puts that story into some context. And it's different than what I thought, but still very interesting. So we'll listen to that. We'll also play another edition of You Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. It's an ongoing series that we're doing here where we focus on people in the stands at baseball games. And let me tell you, There are a couple of instances that we're going to delve into today about how we behave. But first, let me address the elephant in the room. For those of you who follow us, hi, Al. Al does not need to be. I mean, I love Al, but I left him up there way too long. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. So I need you to like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff, forward, promote everything, whether it's on Radio Misfits, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. Pugs Moran or Radio Misfits, wherever you go. Those are the only two things you need to do. Pugs Moran and Radio Misfits. Follow, like, subscribe, whatever it is we're supposed to do. Please do it. And now let me address the elephant in the room. If you follow me on Twitter, Pugs Moran, you may be shocked to see that I am now sporting the blue check of shame. Oh, I did it. Thanks, Maddie. Maddie has been sharing some analytics with me about her. She bit the bullet and bought the blue check there on Twitter. And she's been sharing it. I mean, I get no traction on Twitter, and I tweet a lot, man. I mean, I should be getting a lot more traction, and I don't. And it's because, it's quite clear that since Elon Musk took over Twitter, he is suppressing people who aren't paying the monthly amount. Now, it's not like I'm silencing those voices. He doesn't care what the voices are saying. He just cares that he doesn't have a credit card on file from them. That's what he cares about. So it's not about suppressing one voice over another, but people who don't pay the man, the gatekeeper, for something that is free. Oh, you can enjoy the free version, but it'll be frustrating. You'll be screaming at clouds. Enjoy. And maybe that's fine for a lot of people, but for what it is that I do, I need to be able to reach more people. We need to be able to try and grow. So Maddie did it because Maddie's got a bunch of projects in the works. She doesn't want to do it. Nobody wants to pay the world's richest man a monthly fee because he made a bad business deal and is now desperately trying to recoup it by charging fanboys money for something that was free. Nobody's okay with that. But it is a tool, and you have to look at it like a tool, and you have to sometimes, and I'm big on principles, but sometimes principles get in the way, and you have to recognize when a principle is stopping you from actually achieving your goal. It's good to be principled, but it's also good to be fluid and thoughtful about each and every situation. So I now sport a blue check of shame. Let me tell you, it's crazy different on Twitter. Oh my God. It is way different. Now, I don't want you people to go, I mean, unless you are trying to spread the word about who you are and what you do, like I'm trying to do here on the Rant every day. Don't do it. If you don't need to do it, don't do it. But man, I am telling you, my impressions have gone through the roof. I've got 50 new friends. It's incredible. And more importantly, the friends that I have gained over this past weekend are all friends in a target demo that I've been struggling to break through with. And that is the very regional and very local Chicago White Sox Twitter base. Chicago White Sox Twitter is insane. I've been telling you about these 108 guys. They're awesome. And oh my God, I'm so lucky that they're nice to me, right? It's like, but I don't get any traction there. So I got the blue check. Suddenly, this Cubs Sox weekend, I'm tweeting all weekend long about Cubs Sox, and I'm getting new friends. Understand that I've done this every Cubs Sox matchup for years and never received new friends. Never. So anyway, the blue check of shame is a reality, and I will live with it. And let me tell you something. It came back to bite me in the ass right away. Because, as I said, I was tweeting this weekend a lot about the White Sox and Cubs crosstown classic rivalry game that we had. I was engaging with a lot of Cub fans, and oh my God. So did you know, first of all, when you get the blue check, when you pay for the blue check, they say you won't get your blue check right away. We've got to check you out. What does that mean? I was like, look, I just gave. Oh, and by the way, I should tell you how I came to the decision to buy. It was 50% off for 2 months, and all I had to pay today was for those 2 months, and that came out to be like $8. It's like $8 for 2 months. And I'll tell you how I did it. I did it spur of the moment. I was sitting there. I was getting ready to watch the Saturday night Cubs White Sox game. And I said to myself, I really want a gyro. I wanted a gyro sandwich. It's either going to go to Peros Brothers or I was going to go to Kismet's. I ended up deciding that it would be Kismet's. It's because, two really great gyro places, but it was getting dark on a Saturday, and I decided that I wanted to go left instead of right because on the south side of Chicago, those are life-changing decisions. If it was noon, I'd have gone right, not a problem. But it was starting to get dark on a Saturday night, and I was like, I'm not going right, okay? Not going right into that part of the south side of Chicago. You understand? I've lived here my whole life, so I went left, and I went to Kismet's, or would have gone to Kismet's. Here's where the life-changing moment came. I sat there and I started to look at Kismet's menu and I started to order and I looked and my order got to like $14. And I'm like, $14 for dinner? And I'm not even thinking anything of it. I went, fuck that. I'm getting Twitter. And I didn't go to Kismet. See, I made a decision. I saved money. I mean, I shouldn't have been spending money, but I saved money and I didn't eat stupid food that I didn't need to eat, that I was simply eating because it was second dinner too. It would have been second dinner because I had made a really nice like chicken spread for the family on Saturday. But this would have been second dinner. It was nervous eating because of the Cubs White Sox game, So I didn't do it and I got a blue check instead. So there you go, folks. So mock me all you want, but I now have a blue check of shame. And you know what? I don't regret it. In the first 24 hours. Took them 24 hours to give me my blue check. I'm like, well, I want my blue check. I don't know why I had that reaction. Like when I paid it and they're like, we'll give you your blue check when we look into you, or whatever it is that they said. I'm like, what? You mean I might not get a blue check? I was mad. And then I got it. And man, oh man, did shit take off. I can edit my own posts now, which is really nice. That is like something that just should be free to everybody, but it's not. So anyway, follow me, Pugs Moran, the blue check of shame. Anyway, it almost immediately came back to bite me in the ass because there was a lot of back and forth going on here in Chicago baseball circles between the Cubs and the White Sox fans. And it's always fun and it's never really mean. But man, one of the first guys that I teed up with, do you know what he said to me? The first response was, "You have no credibility, you blue check bootlicker." And I was like, oh man, that used to be my favorite zing. That used to be one that I used. And like now it's being used against me. So I responded to him. I said, serious points, my man. That one hurt. I understand your sentiment exactly. I don't want it, but I must have it. It's a work thing. And that was all I had to say. And then I backed out of the argument and I couldn't argue with him anymore. I mean, immediately somebody threw it in my face that I have a blue check. And I'm like, fuck. They think I'm one of them now. Oh, they don't realize that I do this rant where I scream at clouds for 5 years and I'm just trying to get new people. So welcome. Anyway, there we go. Let's see. Speaking of that, okay, so let's talk a little bit here because trust me, this is going to be a little bit White Sox Cubs weekend oriented, but it's not. More, it's going to be about us. It's going to be about behaviors. And before I do that, folks, seriously, taking off the coat. That's right. If this was a live show with an audience, this is where the girls would go, woo! And I'd be like, stop it, you lying whores. Okay, here we go. Jacket's coming off. It's a little warm. Gonna need some water because we're going to talk about something I've been talking about here on the show for a couple of weeks. It's an ongoing segment called Can't Beat Fun at the Old Ballpark. We've been focusing on people's behavior in the stands. We've seen multiple ways that you can behave when you get a home run ball, the bad ways, the good ways. People getting engaged, and again, all met fights, all manner of fan behavior we focused on here in our ongoing series. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. Well, this weekend there was real fun at my ballpark, and that's it's Comiskey. It's Comiskey Park. It hasn't been called that in 40 years, but it doesn't matter. That's what we call it. It's Comiskey Park, or, if we must, Sox Park. I think if you're out of town stupid, you might think the White Sox play at a place called the Rate or Guaranteed Rate Field, but we don't acknowledge that. We don't acknowledge that any more than we acknowledge the Willis Tower. The Willis Tower here in Chicago. It's been the Willis Tower again for about 40 years, but there ain't a Chicagoan worth their salt that will ever refer to it as the Willis Tower. It's the Sears Tower. It's more than just a building. It's how we all know our directions. It's why nobody in Chicago is ever lost, because you know where the Sears Tower is and you can always see it. Wait. Which way we heading? Where's the tower? That's how, right? So it's not just a building. It's something that means something to the people of Chicago. And you don't get to pay money to slap a name on something that we've all been just familiarly referring to as the Sears Tower for years and years. So it's still the Sears Tower. Comiskey, for us Southsiders, where the White Sox play is still Comiskey too. So at Comiskey, the Cubs came to town, and great series, man. Just baseball, just great baseball. Because I'm trying to be classy about it. The White Sox won a hard-fought 3-game series. It was wonderful. Cubs battled back after being down 4-0 in the first game to win it like 10-5. Woo! Got to be honest, I was scared on Saturday going into game 2. That's why I was, fear eating when I was trying to buy that. I was thinking about buying that Euros. I was fear eating because game 2 meant a lot. If we lose game 2, then who cares about game 3? Because the series is lost and the Cubs have the bragging rights at least until the end of the year when we go to Wrigley to play. Oh man, it was stressful. So anyway, the White Sox won on Saturday. Very cool win on Saturday too, by the way. Mooney Magic played in. Let me show you this. All right, so you know our big Japanese superstar Mooney, right? Okay, so there's been something weird going on with the White Sox this year. Maybe not weird. A lot of teams have their little dugout rituals that they do when they celebrate home runs or whatever it is. But the White Sox have a pre-home run ritual that is it's kind of catching on. It's a pitcher by the name of Mike Vassell has been injured in spring training. He had Tommy John surgery in spring training, and he is out for the season. And he is the rare player who is out for the season who is in the dugout every single game. Mike Vassell, who is out for this entire year, has kind of become the wizard of the dugout, is what they call him. And he does this thing with a wand. And he does it sparingly. He doesn't do it all the time, but he will do a thing with a wand to a hitter who needs to make a hit. And I am telling you, for some weird reason, the wand thing has freaking worked. Okay? And again, he doesn't do it every at-bat. That would be silly, and it obviously wouldn't work every at-bat, but it does seem to have worked this season so far in very limited moments. Now, Mooney, our big Japanese superstar, he was leading Major League Baseball in home runs last weekend, and then he was in a cold streak. He didn't hit any home runs in the following 2 series after homering in the first game of every series for like 9 or 8 straight series or whatever. He went cold. And on Friday night, Mooney, he's getting hits. Like, he's not cold. He's home run cold, but he's getting like base hits and doubles and stuff, which is not expected because he was supposed to just strike out or hit a home run, and he's actually hitting for average and stuff. So anyway, getting a lot of hits and walks. He's walking all the time. He was supposed to strike out. He's not doing that. He's walking. Anyway, he wasn't hitting home runs for like a week. And so on Saturday, Mike Vassell pulled out the wand and decided to do a little magic on Mooney. And Mooney said, okay, hit me with the magic. Because remember, he had been cold. Here it is. This is John Boy. If you like baseball fun, John Boy is great to follow. All right, so here you'll see at the top, this is Mooney. Okay, this happened before what you're seeing at the bottom. Right before. This is just before he grabbed his bat, okay? Watch this. Well, you got to watch the top and the bottom. It's going to play consecutively. But this is what happened immediately following Mooney taking the wand.
Well, Connie sends this one high in the air. Pico Armstrong at the wall. There's the signal.
All right. All right. All right. So here's the point. He did it in 2 consecutive at-bats. His next 2 at-bats after getting the wand treatment from Vassell, he hit 2 home runs in a row. After not hitting home runs, and he did it against the Cubs, it was just magic.
Murakami sends this one high in the air. Pico Armstrong at the wall. Murakami, there's the signal. And the fireworks going off.
Here's the second one.
Murakami sends this one. Second home run tonight for Murakami.
That's crazy. I'm telling you, I said it. I said it. Look at this guy. Look at it. He's a big, super talented Japanese kid with Magic Johnson level charisma. I posted over the weekend, Peyton Manning better be calling his agent and making sure those advertisings are all freaking shored up because Mooney is coming. This guy is so likable. Look at him taking the wand. It's like he's like an evangelical Christian getting his home run juice.
Pico Armstrong at the wall.
Incredible. All right, so that was fun. So that was Saturday. We just romped him with home runs on Saturdays because we're a home run hitting team. And then on Sunday became the rubber match. So Sunday was a very big game. Cubs won Friday. We won Saturday. Here we go. Let's do this Sunday afternoon. Everybody's back from church. Let's go. By the way, not a lot of fights, not a lot of fight videos, not a lot of, because as I said, Cubs and White Sox fans, we all live together. Cubs and White Sox fans are married to each other. They have kids where their daughter is a Cub fan and their son is a Sox fan. I mean, that's common. House divided is what it's known as. Sorry, I'm very, very thirsty today, and I don't know why. All right, so let me get into what this is all about. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark. On Sunday, yesterday, during the game, a game the White Sox ended up winning in just spectacular fashion, a game that is being called today the best game in the history of Chicago White Sox, Chicago Cubs. So on Friday, when I said I hope I get a good weekend of baseball, my God, did I get a good weekend of baseball. What a game on Friday. Extra innings, home team walks it off. I mean, they're both home teams. They're both from Chicago. But you know what I mean? It was just so incredible. A big hitting catcher. Our big hitting catcher who has just been a beast of a bat everywhere he's been. He was a beast of a bat last year. He hasn't hit a home run all year. He has been ice cold, Edgar Caro. He comes up in the bottom of the 10th inning and hits his first home run of the year, which he's expected to hit 30 plus. He hits his first home run of the year, and it's to walk off the Cubs. All right, so very good game, very fun game. Even Cub fans will admit it was a good weekend of baseball, and you know what? They get us in a couple of months in their place. And now all they got to do is sweep us. To win the series, right? If they want to win the entire season crosstown series, they got to sweep us, and then there you have it. So good luck with that. So yesterday at the game, there was some fun at the old ballpark. Let me show you how it started, okay? Where is it? Is this the one? Oh, no, here, I will play this. This is how I just told you. This is the Edgar Caro home run. Listen to this home run call from the radio guy. It's from inside the stadium. You're going to see the video from inside the stadium, but then you're also going to hear the home run call from the radio guy. The home run call by this radio guy is interesting because the radio guy is Len Casper. He is the radio guy for the Chicago White Sox. He used to be the TV guy for the Chicago Cubs, but he walked away from the Cubs to take a lesser radio job. Why? Because he actually loved the White Sox all along. So here's Len Casper, Cub trader, who we've embraced on the South Side. Here's Len Casper with one of the most elite home run calls for White Sox fans in history.
Caro hits a fly ball out into deep left center field. It's back there. It is gone! Edgar Caro wins it! Shut up! Yes! The young man deserves it. He is going to walk very slowly to home plate now. He touches the plate, and he's mobbed by his teammates. Unreal.
What a three-game series this has been for the city of Chicago.
All right, very true. Very good. Chicago baseball is back. One team isn't obviously better than the other. These games mean something from a pride standpoint. And like I said, there's more to play this year later. Now, in the game yesterday that we just saw how it ended. In the game yesterday, the Cubs have a star, a player named Pete Crow Armstrong. He goes by PCA. And I don't know. I really don't know if he is like super famous outside of Chicago. But in Chicago, especially among Cub fans, he's like borderline Michael Jordan level. Cub fans tend to do this. Cub fans take a player who is a good player and they immediately elevate them in their mind to one of the greatest Cubs of all time. And that's kind of where Pete Crow Armstrong is sitting right now. And aside from just an incredible, he's had one great season, one great season, and he's struggling a little. He is inarguably one of the best defensive outfielders in all of baseball. But the bat, there needs to be some discipline, right? That's I guess what people would say about him. But the point is this: he can play on any of your teams. I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong is a really good baseball player, but Cubs have turned him into a superstar. And that's we White Sox fans. We look at a guy that played for us for years and years and years, who nobody knows. A guy by the name of Paul Konerko. Like almost nobody outside of baseball, outside of the South Side of Chicago, knows who Paul Konerko is. Paul Konerko is like 10 times the player that Pete Crow Armstrong ever was at the same point in their career. And yet in Chicago, nobody knows who Paul Konerko is, but everybody has heard ad nauseum about the greatness of Pete Crow Armstrong. And I'm like, my God, could you imagine if Paul Konerko played on the Cubs? Jesus Christ, he'd be Ron Santo. Anyway, the point is this: Cub fans are obnoxious, and we'll move on from that. Comes a White Sox fan during the game yesterday. Let me show you how this started, and then we'll get into the behavior aspects and how we're all supposed to act, okay? Here's how it started from yesterday's game. Again, this is Pete Crow Armstrong playing the outfield for the Chicago Cubs. And again, I told you he's probably one of the greatest defensive outfielders in all of baseball. And this weekend, Pete Crow Armstrong absolutely dazzled defensively again. However, comes this play. Even the best have moments where maybe they weren't their best.
This one in the air to right center field.
So that's Pete Crow Armstrong. You see how he's running? See this area where the fans are on the other side? That's a bar. That's a bar, man.
Pete Crow Armstrong looking up at the wall, and he can't make the catch. 1-1 score.
I don't like that. That is a huge problem that I have with Pete Crow Armstrong, which is why stop elevating him to the Hall of Fame. This kid's got some growing to do. Did you see his reaction after he couldn't make the catch? The ball wasn't out of the park. It wasn't a home run. That ball was still in play. Well, for all we know, they hadn't determined yet. And what did Pete Crow Armstrong do? He got all up in his head. He got all up in his head and sat there and pouted.
At the wall, and he can't make the catch.
Look at right there. That is my problem with Pete Crow Armstrong, okay? He is a superstar in every regard except mentally. Running around with his Dennis Rodman hair, trying to get attention, following Caleb Williams around town like some kind of fucking purse dog. He is so desperate to be what the Cub fans have already turned him into that it's fucking with his head. All right, so let's watch this again because it's what happens after this that we're going to discuss.
This one in the air to right center field. Pete Crow Armstrong looking up at the wall, and he can't make the catch. 1-1 scores, and we got a tie.
All right, that ball is still in play, and Pete Crow Armstrong is just sitting there going, wah! Trust me, as a White Sox fan, we've had plenty of these guys in our recent past. Luis Robert, he was a whiny bitch. Eloy Jimenez gave up on everything. So we've seen this before. You can have all the skills and ability in the world, but if you aren't mentally nails, you're never going to be what people think you can be. Now, okay, so here he is pouting. Here we have who I've deemed the Khaleesi of Comiskey. This is a White Sox fan woman who is in this bar that is adjacent to the outfield, and she is celebrating her engagement, her wedding engagement. So this is now how her wedding engagement party will be remembered forever. Pete Crow Armstrong sitting there pouting and a White Sox fan going, "You suck." All right. So let's watch this whole thing again play out because we've got close-ups and we've got audio. So let's progress through this. Can't beat fun at the old ballpark.
This one in the air to right center field. Pete Crow Armstrong looking up at the wall, and he can't make the catch. One run scores, and we got a tie game. Miguel Vargas coming through here in the fifth.
That was a big effort by Crow Armstrong, but for the first.
He's talking shit back to a fan. All right? Now, you see her. She's going for it. She's drunk. She's like 5 mimosas deep, man. This is her engagement party, and she's a White Sox fan. She is the Khaleesi of Comiskey. She is representing the way fans are, I'll say, sadly, maybe expected to react. Fans can boo. Fans can say you suck. Fans have to maintain a line of decorum, though. That's what civilized society is all about. And she did. For a Southside princess. Basically, you suck. Hey, Pete Crow Armstrong, you suck. All right.
Scores, and we got a tie game. Miguel Vargas coming through here in the fifth.
That was a big effort by Crow Armstrong, but for the first time in this series, he comes up short.
Okay, all right, there you have it. So that's how it played out in real time. Pete Crow Armstrong getting into it with the Khaleesi of Comiskey out there in the center field bar. All right, so here, I think this is another video. This is from my Khaleesi's point of view. This is inside the bar, and this appears to be somebody filming her shouting at PCA. And we saw what just happened. He went up for a ball. He missed it at the wall. Tough catch. But PCA, we expect you to make those tough catches. I thought you were Mr. Highlight, right? Johnny Highlight. Okay, so you didn't make it, and a White Sox fan during a very heated local rivalry that never rises to, gunplay. It's not a horrible rivalry, but there is a lot of you suck, fuck you, you suck, oh yeah, fuck you, you suck, that. Hold on. All right, sorry, I caught it real quick. See, that was good. All right, so here we go. This is inside. This is from the woman's point of view after PCA just missed the catch, and then instead of playing the ball, decided to pout for a little bit. She ran over. All right, here we go. This is what she said. All right, so here's what we have. We have her going, "You suck! You suck!" Which for a lot of people might be unladylike, but for me, that is the sexiest thing I've ever seen. She's the hottest girl in Alsip. Anyway, so she's doing what Cubs and Sox fans do. She's like, "You suck!" They built this bar here knowing full well that fans were going to be drunk and have really close proximity to players. They know what's happening here, and it's on the player to ignore it. It is on the player to be mentally tough. Back to Pete Crow Armstrong, the guy who we saw sitting there pouting after the ball went off the wall. What did he do immediately after that? Did he get his head back in the game? No, he let some fan, some drunk chick, say "you suck," and he responded to it. Now, how did he respond? This is where it gets to be problematic. Once again, for any future prospect of superstar PCA, get your head right, boy. How did he respond? Well, I'm going to show it to you here, and then I'll show it to you with a little bit better audio. But she says, "You suck." He turns to her, a woman in the stands, a Major League Baseball player, turns to this woman and says, "Yeah, you can suck my fat dick, bitch." That's what he said. He's the one who crossed the line, okay? He's all up inside his feels because he's not superstar Pete Crow Armstrong in that moment, so he's pouting. He's not even playing the ball. White Sox players are rounding the bases. And instead, he's like, "Yeah, you can suck my fat dick, bitch." That's what he says. All right, so let's watch it one more time. You can't really hear him. There is going to be a piece of audio where you can, but here, just so you know what he's saying. So now watch. He says, "You can suck my fat dick, bitch." And she's like, "Oh yeah, fuck you." She responds the way any woman would if a man says that to her. That is crossing the line. How should he have responded? Well, not at all. A superstar responds not at all. Now, let me give you one caveat. This is not a normal game. So, for a Chicago superstar, I think it would be fine for him to respond. I think it would be fine for him to have a give and take with the fan in this moment. But again, suck my fat dick, bitch, is not that. It's not that. Pete Crow Armstrong could have turned to her and said, "Oh, shut up, dummy." Or he could have turned and said something like, "You guys suck. You guys are like barely over 500. He could have said any number of things that would have been absolutely fine within the confines of this rivalry. But he didn't. He turned to this girl who told him he sucked and he said, "You can suck my fat dick." Now, you don't think that's crossing a line? Then, well, I think I know how you voted, because everything is different now. Do we live in a world where now that's okay to say to a woman? Major League Baseball is probably going to get involved here. They're probably going to fine him. But anyway, one more time, just so you can see it. You know what he says. He says, "You can suck my fat dick, bitch." So that's what "Yeah, you can suck my fat dick, bitch." All right. Now, of course, the fight is the North Siders. That's perfectly fine. She's a dumb cunt. Whatever. Excuse my language, but we are talking about what people are saying on Twitter. All right. Let's see here. Now, I think this is a better one of PCA's response. Let's see. I think this one has at least what he's saying a little bit more audible. I believe so. All right, here we go. PCA responding to "Yeah, you suck" with "You can suck my fat dick, bitch." All right, here we go. Yeah, if you're wearing headphones, you can hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's clearer here. "Yeah, you can suck my fat dick, bitch." To which, she doesn't even respond the way a woman would be allowed to respond to that. She could really have gone nuclear in that moment. But what did she do? She's like, well, first of all, she's a Southside princess. It's not the first time she's heard it. It's not the first time somebody in a bar has said, "Yeah, you can suck my fat dick, bitch." Some fireman who's had too much to drink. So she's heard it before. Her response, I think, is, "Yeah, fuck you. Fuck." Oh, actually, she said, "Fuck that." Yeah, fuck. Okay. All right. There you have it. We've got both sides of it. My takeaway from it is, and you can say that I'm biased because she is like the queen that I bend the knee to. She is the Khaleesi of Comiskey. First of all, she's really hot for a Southside girl. That needs to be noted. She's neighborhood hot, which is good. Dad's probably a cop, that kind of thing. I'm just telling you what I see. She's got the tattoo. Here's one of the things I noticed. She's got a tattoo, but it's right here. It's inside. It's easily hideable, which tells me that she's got an edge, but also she plays the good Catholic girl. She doesn't want to look like a tattooed whore, but she's got a little edge to her. All right. So PCA gets into it with her, and the Cub fans are, she's the terrible one. She's the terrible one, which I would say in context, she's not the terrible one. This is Cubs White Sox. This is the kind of stuff that we do. Okay, we'll be in Wrigley, and you guys will do the same thing. So just stop acting like this is new and stop it. Okay, what he said was wrong. The way he responded to a fan with "suck my fat dick, bitch" was wrong. And we could all just agree with that. And maybe we just move on. Maybe we let the league handle it and we all just move on. But I don't want to move on as a White Sox fan, because I see another lane that I can pursue. And it's that lane that airs another example that PCA is a wildly overrated baseball player by the Chicago Cub fans. Now, we saw two examples right there, and those are in the moment. And you can say, "Oh, Pugs, those are just isolated." Pete Crow Armstrong missing the catch and then pouting instead of playing the ball, then getting involved in a back and forth with a woman, a fan, who he then says, "You can suck my fat dick, bitch." We saw that. That all happened in the blink of an eye. That was all within like 15 seconds. That all went down. Earlier in the game, all right, how about this? How about earlier in the game, PCA, while he was on deck, this again, PCA not fucking getting how this game is played, this game of rivalry. And the White Sox have our own people who are famous for being the bad guy in this series. Ozzie Guillen is the most famous. Ozzie hates the Cubs. But Ozzie never said anything like, "Cub fans can suck my fat." He never said anything like that. He says stuff like, "You should see the rats at Wrigley. They're the size of pigs." You know, and he says stuff like, "Yeah, I would never play for the Cubs, blah, blah, blah. Better food on the South Side." That's something weird that he said once. Anyway, nobody's ever been like, gotten violent. Here's PCA earlier in the game yesterday. Okay, this is what. Here. This is earlier in the game. Okay, so PCA is on deck. And of course, he's a big target. He's the Cubs, golden boy. So he's on deck and he's hearing it from the crowd. And here's the context of this, because it's being spun by Cub fans. Well, at least one influential Cub fan. It's a total lie. The influential Cub fan is saying that Pete Crow Armstrong responded this way because his mother was at the game and they had insulted his mother, and that's why he responded this way. So that's what the Cub fans are saying. All right, that has been debunked. Morning Radio Today debunked that. Pete Crow Armstrong's mother was not there. And also, we now have context from multiple people who are in the section, because as with these viral clips, you always wish they started 10 seconds earlier and ended 5 seconds later. But context was available. So here's the context here. Some guy, Pete Crow Armstrong is from the Valley. In the Valley in California is very well known as the porn capital of the world, okay? So somebody yelled, "Hey, Pete, do you know anybody or who's your porn star girlfriend," or whatever. It had to do with that. It was stupid. It's dumb. Fans say dumb shit all the time. Had to do with that. Had to do with him being from the porn capital of the world. But it wasn't explicit. It wasn't like, "Hey, you think," it was just, "You're from the Valley. You know any porn stars," or whatever. Here's how Pete responded, okay? This is the response, and this is where it picks up.
Oh, shoot! Oh, shoot! No way! Oh, shoot!
Pete Crow Armstrong turns to the fans and says, "I'm going to fuck you up." Now, again, this is treading the line. This isn't as bad as "you suck my fat." This could be, "I'm getting up to bat and I'm about to fuck you up." He could have been a little more artful in making that point. But it also plays in the way that it's playing to a lot of people, that Pete Crow Armstrong is just out here threatening fans. And you can't do that. So this is just another example. This guy has all the talent in the world, and Cub fans have already put him in the Hall of Fame. But the fact of the matter is, he's a head case. And he may not ever be who you think he is now, simply because he can't get his fucking head straight. He's immature and mentally soft, possessing every skill a baseball player should, but again, immature and mentally soft. All right, there you have it. So as far as how we behave at these games, certain rules apply to certain things. This was a rivalry game. She said that he sucked. He responded with real gross vulgarity. But again, Sox fans clutching their pearls about, "It's so vulgar." Stop it. Let's just move on. Let's let the league deal with him and just know that we're better than Cub fans. That Cub fans would do worse. All right. Let's see. What else did we have earlier in the game? Fan ads context. We already did that. Oh, okay. So we'll listen to this. Here you go. This is how sports radio covered it this morning. I thought this was interesting, just so you get an idea of what the city is saying about it. This is Mully and Haw. They're on WSCR, what I consider to be the greatest sports radio station in America.
I think
here you go.
that was one of those things that I think I would.
It was disappointing.
It was disappointing on all sides. I think people would wake up this morning probably feeling some sense of regret.
But Pete's got to be better than that. You just don't. You don't listen to the fans. People aren't going to like you. What are you going to do?
You're never going to win that battle because you're never going to come out of it feeling any better. And any satisfaction you feel in telling somebody off in that situation is going to be outweighed by the criticism you receive for blowing your top in the heat of
there was a back and forth between
What we're hearing now, this is what Pete Crow Armstrong said after the game about the interaction with people.
What was that about?
Some lady just decided to start talking and felt the need to say it back.
See, the thing is, listen, that guy spent the weekend making unbelievable plays. He is the best defensive player maybe in all of baseball. I mean, there's no one as good. And so someone says something to you, I'm the only play that – and it wasn't
the play you don't make.
But the only one he didn't make the whole weekend, try not to respond, try not to listen, try not to, let anyone know they're getting to you, right? I mean, I don't know.
That's the plan. And I think he's one of those guys who we know how emotional he can get because the post-it bat outs and the helmet and the bat, and so he is emotional, and that's part of his game, I suppose. But you've got to be in a position where you show more restraint than that.
That's the truth. That's it. Long and the short of it. Until he gets his mental strength back, Pete Crow Armstrong is never going to be who the Chicago Cub fan think he is already. Tonight's a weird night. Tonight's going to be a weird night because we got a West Coast game. So, yeah, it's back on it tonight. We got a West Coast game. Might need a nap. Thank God for the pitch clock. West Coast games now, instead of being up past midnight, now you get to bed right around quarter to midnight or so. So that's pretty good. All right, let's see. What else do we need to talk about today? What happened? Iran. What is the latest in Iran? I don't know. You don't care. We care about gas prices. That's how I judge Iran, and gas prices are still going up. $5.19 this week. $5.19 on the south side of Chicago. Oak Lawn. I think it's $5.01 at the cheapest. That would be way out. Way out in Matson at 57 in Sauk Trail Road. There's a Walmart with gas. I think it's $5.01 there. Gas prices are insane. Remember I told you last week I bought a $6 gallon of milk? $6 gallon of milk? Haven't even opened that gallon of milk yet. It's going bad. We got to start drinking milk. We can't be throwing $6 around. Start drinking milk. All right, so that's Iran. That's right. That's my coverage of Iran. How it affects us in our pocketbook. President don't give a shit. He's out here like, you can take it. No, we really can't, and you'll find out in the worst way possible. Okay, moving on. China. What's going on with China? We give him Taiwan? Is that the deal? Did Trump go to China and then just give him Taiwan? Quite frankly, I don't care. I don't know how important. I'm not really smart about that part of the world. But if we're just at this point, adversaries with China because of Taiwan or something, just give it up. Is it that important? I mean, I'm sure Japan might start to freak out. Japan and South Korea might be like, what are you doing? We needed you. But come on, man. Again, we don't need to be involved in that part of the world. If we gave up Taiwan, I'd like to know. I'd like to know, because whispers are that we may have sold Taiwan and we didn't even own it. All right, so that's what's going on with China. Moscow, how about the Ukraine war? We haven't checked in on this headline in a while. Moscow got their ass kicked this weekend by the Ukes. That's right, them damn Ukis sent like a whole fleet of drones with, I guess, missiles. I don't know. They sent a whole bunch of armed drones into Moscow. Blew the hell out of an apartment building. Woo. We forget about that war. That's still a very hot war. And the people who were supposed to be rolled over within the first 2 weeks, James Parker, never forget the night the war started, James Parker and I had a conversation about it. And I said, it's going to be a quagmire. It's going to go on forever. You have no idea how complicated this is. And James was like, God, the Russians are just going to roll through. Find it. You can find it on our YouTube page if you just go all the way back. It's one of the early Pugs and Parkers. But I told you, so this thing's going to go on forever, man. You're talking about people who don't want to be a part of the Soviet Union anymore, one generation removed from people who were raised inside the Soviet Union. The memories are hot. These fuckers will fight. Oh, but Biden, I remember there was all kinds of Biden talk about that. Trump was going to end that war on day one. Well, Trump was going to make gas under $2 on day one as well. Well, I think he did the eggs. Let's give him credit for the eggs. Eggs were once a problem money-wise, and then Trump was like, I'm going to fix eggs, because we were all eating ducks out of golf course ponds, right? Remember that? There was like a period of time when we were all eating ducks. I don't remember it, but there was something like that going on. And it was because eggs were so expensive, and then Trump was like, I'm going to fix eggs, and he did, and now everything's great. All right, moving on. So there you have it. Moscow got hit. Let's talk a little bit about the Austin situation, what went down in Austin yesterday. I told you I was pretty captivated all weekend by the baseball stuff. I was really trying to be distracted from all the things that are going, my kid is coming. My kid is having, some issues, nothing bad, but, just who am I kind of issues, right? So he's going to come, he's going to spend some time with this side of the family for a while. And he's, I'm going to get into his head, and we're going to figure out, right? We're going to figure out what he is and who he is and what we can do. Anyway, this is happening. So there's a lot there. Mom isn't feeling well. Mom is on the mend, up and walking around, sitting outside yesterday with her birds and stuff. We've got new baby Canada geese coming to my Twitter feed, Pugs Moran. Got new baby Canada geese that I'll show off to you. You all know about my rabbits and my birds and my eagles and all that stuff. But yeah, now we got baby Canada geese that are just running around the backyard. Pretty cute. So mom's feeling better, and that's good. But, we got to get mom back to what she was a few months ago. And that's going to be, so we got that. Anyway, distractions, money problems, right? We just came through an absolutely dismal pledge week, but whatever. We keep going. Anxiety, stress, all of these things. So I preached on Friday about the importance of distractions, being able to unplug yourself, being able to find the reason that you want to keep living. And that can be absolutely anything. My distraction this weekend was supposed to be baseball, but unfortunately, 3 punk teenagers decided to go on a shooting spree in Austin. So all Sunday afternoon, when I should be watching the greatest baseball game, I got that thing paused, and I'm covering live breaking news out of Austin, Texas. 3 teenagers, starting on Saturday night, 3 teenagers apparently stole guns. Here, I'll give you the story, okay? Here it is. This is... This comes to us from Fox 7 in Austin. 12 separate shootings across Austin, 3 teen suspects now in custody. The 3 teen suspects, the manhunt for the 3 teen suspects is what was causing me to not enjoy my distraction of a baseball game. This manhunt was one of the most compelling things I've ever listened to on the police scanner and followed on all these live streams. Boy, oh boy, breaking news is different now than it ever was before. You can literally follow it as it breaks. Here's the bullet points from Fox 7. Austin and Manor, Texas police said late Sunday the 3 suspects are now in custody. This following a series of random shootings that unfolded across the city over the weekend. During a Sunday evening press conference, actually, we have the press conference. Let's just show the press conference. Let's do that. Okay, so this is going to be the mayor and the chief of police yesterday. It says evening, but I think it was around 4 o'clock or something. I guess that might constitute as evening. This was the first press conference where they actually told us what was happening. Because if you were following it live on Twitter or whatever, you were getting a whole bunch of different. I mean, it sounded like mayhem was breaking out in Austin. It sounded like there were groups of people going around and randomly opening fire. Like, remember the DC sniper and all that? It was that times 3 and happening now. That's the way it was playing. So when the chief of police and the mayor of Austin finally spoke and told us what was going on, this is sounded like. Here's the mayor. First.
Good afternoon. I'm Austin Mayor Kirk Watson, and we want to give you an update on some of the things that are going on in Austin right now. We are reporting multiple shootings throughout the area. 2 of those have been at our fire station, or at 2 Austin Fire Department stations.
I also do want to point out that no news coverage of this. No news coverage of this. CNN, MS Now, or MS whatever. I don't even know what it's called anymore. Fox, there was no breaking ongoing coverage while a major American city was gripped by the idea that 3 teenagers with guns were going around just shooting people at random all over the city. Nobody's covering it. Has this become that normalized that we're like, it's not a big deal? All right, get back to me when there's a body count that we can break into. What's the body count? Tell me when the body count goes over 20, and then we'll interrupt the weekend programming here on CNN. Unbelievable. So the mayor, because nobody's covering it, they have to put this out on social media. Somebody is running around Austin, 3 people running around Austin, shooting up fire stations, shooting people randomly at gas stations, and nobody is covering it.
These are occurring primarily in South Austin, and we don't have any specific motive that has been identified. In fact, these actions appear to be random. This is an active, ongoing investigation. So what we're asking is that all of our people, all of our residents, please remain vigilant.
The city of Austin was told to shelter in place. The city of Austin, Texas. This isn't, little Plattsville, Arkansas. This is a major American city that was placed under shelter-in-place orders for hours yesterday while madmen ran around shooting people. And again, nobody could be bothered to interrupt their Sunday programming to cover this.
It appears that as part of this, people are changing vehicles. So again, it's very important for people to remain vigilant.
They were driving around, shooting up things, then carjacking people and getting in a new car after the car they shot up the last place with was reported to police. That's what they were doing for a period of about 18 hours between Saturday and when they were finally caught.
Sunday. In fact, it appears that as part of this, people are changing vehicles. So again, it's very important for people to remain vigilant. We ask if you see anything, and the chief is going to give you an update on some specifics in just a second, but if you see anything, we're asking that you please call 911. An alarm or a warning has gone out. Many of you may have received that. Please pay heed to that.
Not if you're watching any cable news. You would not have received any notification that this was happening in your town.
The Austin Police Department Chief, Lisa Davis, to give you some more details. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. We are currently investigating 10 shootings that occurred late yesterday and into today. At this time, most of the shootings have occurred in South Austin. Again, no specific motive, and they appear to be random in nature. This investigation is ongoing, and APD asks that you remain vigilant. And if you see something suspicious, please call 911. Do not approach a vehicle. At this point, we know the suspect's vehicles used in this incident have included a black or dark blue Hyundai, a gold Hyundai sedan, a silver Mazda 4-door, and a white Kia Optima, which APD is currently looking for. Suspect description is 2 male Hispanics, both in their late teens, one with medium wavy hair and the other with longer hair. At this time, we can confirm that 4 individuals have been shot. 1 has sustained serious injury and the other 3 minor injuries. In addition, I want to remind people to not leave their cars unlocked. What we are seeing are these cars are being stolen. Do not leave your keys in the vehicle or your key fobs in the vehicle. Again, please remain vigilant. If you see something suspicious, call 911 immediately. Stay safe.
All right, there you have it. That was going on yesterday in Austin, Texas, and absolutely nobody in the world gave a shit about it. It ended sometime after 3 o'clock, I think, because that was when the first call on the police scanner came through. And that was a call regarding a car being pulled over in Manor, Texas, with multiple occupants inside. That car had 2 girls in the front. It was 2 black girls. I don't know that and in the back, there were 2 men who fit the description of who the police were looking for. 2 Hispanic guys in the back seat. Turned out there were 3, and they bailed. As soon as they got pulled over, the guys in the back bailed. A 3rd guy was found hiding in the back seat of the car. He didn't bail, so they arrested him right there. The 2 girls, it is not known if those 2 girls were accomplices or if they were, victims, if they were being carjacked. I think they were probably being carjacked, but we'll see. I haven't seen word on that yet. So 2 ran. 1 was caught fairly quickly. So they had 2 in custody, and then for about 4 hours into the night, they were searching for the 3rd person who ran from the car. They had him pinned down. The scanner was all abuzz. They were sending in the robots and all of that stuff. They finally caught him. They put him in custody. All three teenagers, 15 and 2 17-year-olds, all minors. Just decided that they were bored in Austin, Texas on Saturday night. And so they stole guns and decided to just start shooting people up all night long. I bet you drugs were involved. I bet you they were doing like crank or something. Because how do you stay up for like 18 hours just, killing, trying to shoot people? All right. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, what I'm stunned by in this whole story was that it seemed in real time as it was happening like a major American story, a story of serious significance. And nobody could be bothered except for independent journalists who were covering it live on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. All right. Mikey D, he was following it too. He says that was nuts. 3 in custody, but should have been taken out. No. Sorry, Mike. No. The three that are in custody were captured in a way that it would absolutely not have been justified to take them out. Okay? They were running, they were fleeing. You can't just go stop and shoot, Mike. I know you know. If they had actually not been cowards, which is what they were, they would have been taken out because they would have gone out, firing. But no, they weren't. They're just cowardly kids. And luckily, one person who was critically injured in the shooting is in stable condition. The other people shot were all not serious. But it could have been, right? I mean, we could have a body count of 10. Maybe that's, they're terrible shots. I don't know. But Mike, no. I don't know that I'm going to go with you there, that I think we should just be executed. I have a 17-year-old, Mike, okay? And although I have no fear of him doing something like this, and yes, it does. It makes a difference that we're talking about a 15 and 17-year-old kids. It does make a difference to me. It would also make a difference, by the way. I know that we have this magic line of 18 where suddenly at 18, you're different. I don't believe that. 19-year-old kids are stupid. Honestly, I think the line should be 23. I don't think anybody under 23 can be trusted with any kind of an important adult decision. But we made it 18 because we need bodies for war. And why not? Just send a bunch of 18-year-olds. Okay. So anyway, that story down there in Austin. What is the latest on it? Let me give you the latest. 3 in suspect. Multiple people shot. 1 was shot and listed in critical condition, is now in stable condition. All right. Let's move on to the other story that people are buzzing about today. Handsome Luigi is back in the news. That's right. Handsome Luigi. He, of course, he murdered the healthcare guy. Brian. What was his name? Brian? I don't know. Who's that? Some guy that ran United Healthcare. Brian Thompson. That was his name. He ran United Healthcare. I just want to state right now clearly that I am not a fan of anybody who is in an executive position currently with any American healthcare company. Not. So I don't think I'd have been a fan of Brian Thompson and the terrible work that his company is doing. Terrible, terrible, con man level, exploit the peasants type work. That is what United Healthcare does. Brian Thompson is the CEO of United Healthcare, did not deserve to die in the way that he did. Okay. But, a lot of people are radicalized out there. And certainly there are people who have been demonized in society, not just radicalized society, but in regular society. I'm not a radicalized individual. And I think that if you run a healthcare company in America, you fucking suck. I think that's just me. And I'm not radicalized, but I've seen friends die. I've seen people go into bankruptcy because of healthcare in America. So yeah, fuck you very much. But again, not radicalized. I do not in any way, shape, or form see what Luigi Mangione did to CEO healthcare guy Brian Thompson as being justified in any way, shape, or form. Luigi Mangione is a nutcase, and he has to stay in prison for the rest of his life. He murdered a man. But we keep talking about Luigi Mangione. This story should be gone, right? I mean, we shouldn't be still thinking about this story. We shouldn't be Luigi Mangione. Shouldn't be a name that we know, but we know his name. Why? Because he's fucking hot. That's it. Could you imagine if it was Luigi Mangione who killed those girls in Utah? Remember the college girls that got slaughtered on Thanksgiving? Yeah, they got slaughtered by some big, tall, weird, gangly guy. So nobody fucking talks about that dude anymore. Imagine if a hot dude like Luigi Mangione had done that. Well, we don't have to because we already had Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, who by every serial killer standards is like, he's a good, decent ball player. He ain't a Hall of Famer, but he was made a Hall of Famer in the world of serial killing, Ted Bundy, because he's hot. Because that's what we do as people. We're stupid. We elevate the hot. So Luigi Mangione is like a household name. Nobody knows who Brian Thompson is simply because he's hot. So he was in court today. Forgot about him, right? He hadn't even been to trial yet. This is like years ago he did this. 2024, he did this. And, he's still, we don't know. Anyway, here it is. He was in court today. A New York judge today ruled that a gun and a notebook that prosecutors say link Luigi Mangione to the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson can be used during his state trial, though other items will be suppressed. Okay, so what does this stem from? Do you remember Luigi? He got caught at that McDonald's in Pennsylvania? Or he did the deed in New York, and then he got in a car and he ran, and everybody's looking for Luigi Mangione or whatever, and they find him, they get him there at the McDonald's, like a little rest stop McDonald's, put him in cuffs. All right. So he had a backpack with him, and the backpack is where they found all the evidence that linked him. They found the gun, they found this, they found that. Now, Luigi's defense is saying that you needed a warrant to go through that backpack. There was shit in that backpack that the police had no right to discover as evidence. You violated his rights. You didn't have a warrant. That's a very real argument. Because if it was a backpack that was just there and it was zipped and nothing was in plain view, then yeah, those police, by statute, I mean, this is precedent. Those police are not allowed to just open that backpack and start searching for things. I think in some regard, it has to do with proximity. Like I've heard in the arguments about this earlier today that there is some legal standard for proximity to the bag as to whether or not you need a search warrant. Like meaning if the bag was in arm's length, that is what they said. A couple of people have said that if his backpack was within arm's length, then it's reasonable for the police officer to discern risk. That what if he's got a gun in there? So at that point, the police, if it's within arm's reach, the police officer doesn't need a search warrant. But if it's not within arm's reach of where he was arrested, then you need a warrant for it. Okay. Now, he was taken down in the bathroom. He went to the bathroom, which is when FBI or whoever that was following Luigi to this McDonald's, that's where they got him in the bathroom. He was nowhere near his backpack. And that is the argument that his defense is making. Now, you think this is it because you found a gun that links him to the murder, but quite frankly, you had no right to find that gun. And that's the argument. Okay, so that's what the judge was hearing today. On Monday morning, the hearing centered around the defense's bid to suppress evidence found in a backpack during Mangione's arrest. This included a 3D printed gun, a silencer, and a notebook. Mangione's lawyers said that their client was unlawfully searched when he was arrested at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The defense said law enforcement should have obtained a warrant before looking in his personal backpack. Prosecutors said that the search was legal and part of standard police procedure. They said the backpack was searched after Mangione gave a false identity to officers. That was their argument, that they were allowed to search the bag. The police said, well, he lied to us, so fuck his right. That's kind of the argument, and that is the argument that the judge said no to. The judge said no. No. Anything that you discovered in the backpack at the restaurant was not within arm's reach, and therefore you needed a search warrant for. Okay? That's what the judge ruled. Now, here's where it gets tricky. The backpack was searched completely once it was taken to the police station after he was arrested for giving the false information to police. He was arrested for giving a fake name, right? And so he gives a fake name and they search the backpack, right? And then they realize it's a fake name, and now he's under arrest for giving a fake name. So now he is legally under arrest, and that backpack is in the possession of the police, and it's back at the police station, and anything they find in that backpack in the police station is now admissible in court. Okay, because he's been arrested. They're going to go through the backpack anyway when they put him in jail, right? They got to account for all of the stuff that he has. So it was at the police station where they discovered, at least according to prosecution, it was at the police station where they discovered the 3D printed gun that links him directly to the murder. What the judge decided today was that the first couple of things that you found in the restaurant, inadmissible. So the notepad and all of that stuff, or it's supposedly him writing, inadmissible. However, police say they discovered the gun only after bringing the backpack to the police station and placing him under arrest. That is allowed. The judge said, yeah, okay, if you discovered the gun in the police station, then yeah, the gun is admissible. But anything that you found before the police station, the stuff that you found in the restaurant, that is inadmissible. All right, so there you have it. When is his next court date? This Mangione is being tried on both federal and state charges for the December 2024 shooting death of Brian Thompson. He has pleaded not guilty in both cases. That's pretty ballsy. It's pretty ballsy. When is his next trial appearance? I don't know. I'm sure I'll let you know the day of. It's not the kind of thing we need to plan for, right? We're not that into Luigi Mangione. Okay, what else do we have here? Here's something I wanted to talk about. It's something that I don't really understand. But you know what? I do want to take a break because I want to go to the bathroom, and I also want to fix my coffee. Hey, let's hear it for a week of no allergies. Yeah, look at this to my voice. My voice is as terrible as it's supposed to be. It's beautiful. Give me a second here. Let me take a quick break. I'm going to refresh my coffee, and I'm going to go to the bathroom, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about this new thing that we're doing. We're voting for people who we just like from the TV. We're just voting. The whole cult of personality, which is something that we've been warned against for years and years and years. Hell, the first time I heard it referenced to a political candidate, it was Ronald Reagan. That, you build up an icon for people to worship as opposed to statesmen actually leading. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how it pertains to what's going on in Los Angeles. We shouldn't have any care about who the mayor of Los Angeles is. None of us live there. But Spencer Pratt from the Hills is running for mayor of Los Angeles, and he's not winning, but he's also not losing. And I want to use him as sort of a jumping off point to talk about, are we doing this? Is this what we're doing now? We're just electing people that we like, from everything from TV commercials to, my God, the new senator from California is Flo from Progressive. Are we doing this? So I want to get into that whole conversation. Plus, Trump and the aliens. You know me, I love the alien stuff. Trump truthed some crazy pictures of him, AI pictures of him walking with an alien. I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about that and how it pertains to the big flop of Disclosure Day from 2 weeks ago. Remember, I told you it was going to be a big flop. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what Trump, I think, is doing by trying to stoke that fire. He can't believe that one didn't distract. So Trump's at it again. We've also got a whole bunch of video that we're going to go through. We're going to do some real-time reacting to some video. We've got an Ebola update. I'm going to tell you about Chud the Builder. Ronda Rousey returned to fighting. Oh, my God. Will Ferrell as Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of stuff to get to. We're going to do a full show. Well, maybe, I don't know. A quick break. It'll be a quick break, okay? And then I'll come back and we'll cram all that and more. All right, quick break. I am Pugs. This is The Rant, and I need to go to the bathroom. So please, we'll be right back in a minute. Hold tight. There we go. No sound. Thank you. There was no sound there. I just explained to you why that break took longer than normal. That break took longer than normal because, and you couldn't hear it. Thank you. Got it. No sound. We're back. All right. I do the show from a house on a tree-lined street, and the city is doing. Okay. Yeah, we got it. The city is doing their tree trimming right now, and you couldn't hear it, but just before we went to that break there, I wasn't even going to go to a break. I was just going to kind of muscle through, but it was starting to distract me. I could hear the chainsaws like right outside the window. So I threw to a break, and I'm like, I'll be right back. And I went out and I saw them, and they're just moving from tree to tree. So I decided that we were going to wait them out. I'm going to wait them out, and they'd move to the next house. So I can't hear it anymore. So I know you can't. So we can move forward now with the second half of the show. All right. God, it's hot. I went outside. It's hot. What is the temperature? We're supposed to get like thunderstorms and tornadoes and stuff. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Maddie. We got you. It says it's only 73. I shouldn't be sweating like a whore in church for 73 degrees. Why am I so hot? I don't know. I do not know. All right, let's move on. Where did we leave off? Oh, yeah, we were going to talk about this. All right. So I talk a lot about how I am just searching for somebody who, at least for me personally, will strike me as a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington type. I'm looking for an authentic political. No, I don't want to. I am looking for an authentic statesman to rise. Someone who it is clear that all they want to do is serve and make shit better and not line their pockets because they come from generations of privileged people. And, you know, the idiots go into politics. That's right. The idiot Rockefellers, the idiot Kennedys, they go into politics and they use the money, the Bushes. So I don't know. There's not a whole lot of authentic people out there. There are a couple. I won't bore you with the names, but there are a couple of people who strike me as being authentic. What seems to be happening more and more with every election. See, maybe more at the state level, and maybe it's always happened more at the state level. I mean, we can go all the way back to Arnold Schwarzenegger winning the governorship of California. I think Jesse Ventura was the first, right? Didn't Jesse Ventura win Minnesota before Arnold? Anyway, and then, you know, there were always goof candidates. You know, Gary Coleman was always running for president or something, but they were goof candidates. Nobody ever took them seriously. You know, and there were also people who maybe should have been taken seriously who never were. They were classified like goof candidates because they have no right to be leading. They're just Ralph Nader, right? Like Ralph Nader ran in an election with like Gary Coleman and they all lost. But maybe a Ralph Nader type shouldn't have been looped in, you know? I mean, cult of personality. Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader was a public advocate, a consumer affairs reporter, basically, who became like the nation's foremost consumer advocate. And when he ran a number of times for president, he was always dismissed as a joke, just like Gary Coleman was dismissed as a joke, or Pat Paulson, who famously ran for president for like 10 elections in a row. But then something changed. And like I said, I don't know if it started with Jesse Ventura or because imagine it's like 1980 something. And they're like, hey, you know who's going to run for governor of this state one day and you're going to vote for him? That guy. And then you point to like WrestleMania and you're like, that guy is going to be governor? Yeah. At some point, people started going, yeah, let's vote for these people. And you had Jesse Ventura, who I don't know. I don't live in Minnesota. I don't know if he was a good governor. He certainly wasn't as bad as some of the ones we've had in Illinois. I'll tell you that. Arnold Schwarzenegger, by all accounts, was a pretty effective governor. So maybe those two examples are why when Trump ran in 2016 and came down the escalator, people like me went, oh, another goof candidate. That's what we need. We need more goof candidates. Couldn't have been more wrong. Trump wasn't a politician. Trump wasn't even, in my estimation, an important business leader in America. He was a flim-flam man who came from money and loved to be talked about and on magazine covers, and he went to all the best parties, and he had beautiful women in his eye. He wasn't a serious person. But he did project sort of an aspirational lifestyle for a lot of people who were broke ass and will never achieve that lifestyle. But you see this guy in his jets with his models and all that, and you go, he must be doing something right? Is that it? I don't know. But there was an attraction there. So he took off, and then he won. And we've had this now for a couple of years where people who should not be taken seriously are suddenly being taken seriously because of a thing called Q rating. Q rating is the old ratings measurement that Hollywood used to determine if somebody was bankable as a star or not. The higher your Q rating, the more bankable you were, which meant if you had I'll give you an example. The highest Q rating ever registered was Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson had, and I don't even know what the number was, but let's say it was on a scale of 30. Johnny Carson had like a 29.5 Q rating, which meant that anything that you did, say this is 1978, anything in 1978 that you wanted to attach to Johnny Carson was going to be a raging success. So they're called Q ratings. And that seems to be how we're voting for people now, based upon how we know them in the pop culture sphere, not in the actual, I'm a smart person, I'm a leader, I've achieved things. No, just, I know that person. So that was step one. Step two is like, what people are we choosing, right? I told you about the whole Gary Coleman thing. I remember when he ran for president. Well, what would the worst? Gary Coleman doesn't seem that bad. I mean, he probably can't do the job, but you know what? Neither can Trump. But at least Gary Coleman seemed all right. Seemed nice. In Los Angeles, Spencer Pratt from the reality series The Hills from like 15, 20 years ago is running for mayor of America's second largest city. The mayor of Los Angeles is a very important and powerful position as it oversees. The mayor of Los Angeles has this weird thing where they're also in charge of, or not totally, but partially in charge of LA County, which is even larger, which makes it one of the largest areas of, governance in the entire country. Not as big as New York, but almost. So the mayor of Los Angeles is no joke of a position. The budget that you oversee is incredible, and it affects so many millions of people from disparate places in life. So it's an important job. It's a serious job. And Spencer Pratt from The Hills is running for mayor against Karen Bass, who I don't know anything about. I know that she's, probably a legit fucking government pawn. I know that she probably did some things in her baby. Maybe she's a lawyer. I don't know. But she's the mayor, right? And she's like a normal mayor, unless you're, far right wing, then you hate her because she's a black woman mayor. So I don't even know, but that probably means she's Democrat. I'm guessing she's Democrat, so just hate her on that alone. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Los Angeles. I don't give a shit. You hear a lot about homeless people. Well, there's homeless people all over nice climate cities. And, if you're going to be homeless, why not go to Hollywood? It's been glamorized in movies for years. Nick Nolte is the homeless guy in Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Come on. It worked out well for him. Pretty Woman. Go be a whore in Los Angeles. People flock to Los Angeles. So there is a homeless problem there. It's a good thing Dallas has their homeless problem all shored up, right? Because you don't have a homeless problem. Everybody's got a homeless problem. Los Angeles has a bigger homeless problem simply because it's Los Angeles. It's where every dreamer flocks to. And when the dream doesn't work out, guess what? You live on the street. So there are a couple of complicating factors as to why the homeless problem in Los Angeles is bigger than it is elsewhere. But let's not pretend there isn't a homeless problem everywhere. And everywhere ain't Hollywood, okay? So a little different. So this is pretty much what Spencer Pratt is running his entire campaign on. Hatred for the homeless problem. He doesn't, he's tired. He calls them zombies, meth head zombies, and all this stuff. This is a guy who lived in the Palisades. Another big platform for him is that his $1 million house burnt down, and he's not sure he's going to rebuild because, Karen Bass as mayor isn't going to, whatever. I don't even know what it is, but that's the other thing. Anger, a privileged wealthy white guy is angry because his house burnt down in a fire. Boo fucking who. All right, so point 2 of this Spencer Pratt running for mayor situation. Wasn't he a bad guy? Like, isn't his entire brand that he's a bad guy? I never watched The Hills, but I do remember him and his relentlessly irritating girlfriend with, like, you know, check in from week to week to see how big her tits are now, right? Didn't he have a girlfriend or maybe now wife who's like, you know, family values, who was like a super slutty tramp girl? Weren't they just a completely obnoxious couple that nobody liked? And the reason they were so famous was because they were so unliked. Isn't that who Spencer Pratt was? A part of that? And now people are like, yeah, but he hates homeless people, so. All right, so let's check in on this guy in Los Angeles. He's in second place right now, which is surprising. People didn't take him seriously a couple of weeks back, but now he's in second place. It's not close. It's a 10-point, difference between where current Mayor Karen Bass is and where he is. It says here he is surging, but surging in only single digits. Pratt has gained 12 percentage points since early March, successfully narrowing the gap with Bass into at times single digits. It currently sits at 10. He has overtaken progressive council member Nithya Raman to secure the clear second place spot. Well, yeah, of course, she ought to drop out. Anybody that is going to siphon votes from Karen Bass, anybody who doesn't want the guy from the Hills being in charge of a city the size of Los Angeles needs to get to that person, Nithya Raman, and tell her to drop out. And then we'll see all that support. That support ain't going to fucking Spencer Pratt. So, all right. So that's the only reason it's competitive right now. At least that's what I've got to tell myself. Because I honestly can't believe that a group of people, millions and millions of people there in Los Angeles, eligible to vote for this. I just can't believe that they would decide to go with the guy from the Hills. Let's see here. It says Pratt's rise follows a widely discussed debate where he attacked the city's current leadership over quality of life issues. He has achieved intense traction through highly produced, controversial, AI-generated social media campaigns. Oh, he's the modern guy, using all of the scary, evil shit from the future to secure his place in the present. The campaign platform, running primarily on anger. Okay. Can we move away from that? That we've had 10 years now. 2016 is when we kicked off the Great American Rage Tour. Can we just stop voting purely on anger and go, boy, oh boy, was I mad for 10 years. Okay, it still sucks, but now let's fix it. How long can the tantrum continue? Can we at some point just now start going, maybe we ought to concentrate on fucking doing shit instead of just being angry? And if you're on the right owning the libs, every vote is to own the libs, or on the left, not participating at all. Okay, maybe that's all right. If you're the extreme left, maybe you shouldn't participate. His path forward under LA's top 2 primary system, if no candidate in the June 2nd election, so there's a June 2nd is when this election is happening. If there is no candidate, hits the top 2 vote getters advance to the November 7th general election. Current polling heavily indicates that Pratt is positioned to face Bass in a one-on-one November runoff. All right. So that means it'll be an entire summer of this guy, just still just the primary. I guess the concern there is that this guy could, whatever. I don't know. Anyway. It's just very upsetting because this story about him running for mayor, I've been seeing it for weeks and it just won't go away. It won't go away. They keep talking about him like it's a serious thing. And I look at the numbers this morning and I'm like, holy shit, this might actually be a serious thing. So if this Nithya person who is, for the Liberal Party there that doesn't apparently caucus with the Karen Bass Democrats, the Liberal Party, if she doesn't drop out, if she does drop out here in June 2nd, then I think Karen Bass is going to win easily with the 50%, but we'll see. All right, we'll see. If not, we got to worry about Spencer Pratt. And then his wife. Who is his wife? Does anybody know these people? Like, I just have a really bad taste in my mouth when any of the people from that era of MTV reality shows is concerned. I think they're all D-bags. Let's see. She's now his wife. All right. All right, very good. Here, yes, Adam makes a good point. Adam says that Nithya Raman is who Karen Bass doesn't want to run against because she fears she'd lose in the runoff to a progressive. So Bass's camp wants Pratt to get second. Yes, but that is not going to happen. I mean, he's in second. It is. She would rather run in the general in November against Spencer Pratt. Yeah, you're absolutely right. However, the concern right now is that Pratt could close the gap in the next 3 weeks. So anyway, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there. We don't need to get into the weeds on Los Angeles politics because I certainly don't know enough about it. But I do know that the whole reason that he's got traction is because the other two leading candidates are left-leaning. So everybody on the right is like going for him. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Mike says it's his wife now. They were horrible, right? Barney says, I always thought he had a very punchable face, but I don't think everyone thought he was a bad guy. Okay. Mikey D says, Spencer's saying what people want to hear. What doesn't mean he can't do what he needs to be. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. All right, moving on. I just don't think he should be I don't think he should be someone that anyone. See, I don't think we know what these people do. I ask this question all the time about President of the United States. I say, do you think you could be President of the United States? And you'd be surprised at the amount of people who are like, yeah, I could do that job. I'm like, bitch, you were fired from fucking Target. What do you mean you think you could do that job? You think you can juggle all of that shit all at once? And don't fucking point to Trump because he ain't doing the job. He is not doing the job required of the President of the United States. He's just going through the motions. And that's why everything is fucked up and everybody's got their hands out and there's money being made everywhere except for us in the middle working class. We're the only ones being squeezed again. So wake up. Perfect example. You know how he's not doing the job? Because he's this. Did you see this yesterday? What? The President of the United States. What the fuck is he doing? He's on his Truth Social yesterday. Let me pull this up. How do we get to there? We go. Truth Social. Okay. So he's on his Truth Social and he posts this and everybody gets mad. Well, I don't think I'm mad, but everybody's like, what the fuck? Okay, here you go. Here's the picture that he posted. It's AI generated. By the way, do you know something about AI here? The younger generation, the generation that's coming, they hate AI. Like, they hate it. Like, my son and all of his friends, like, one of the worst things you can do is use AI. I said, I go, what is this? What are you, just a weirdo? You guys aren't embracing? He's like, no. It's all the parents who are using it. Right now, AI is like Facebook technology to a kid. That kid looks at Facebook like, yeah, that's where my aunt and grandma are. I'm not going near that. That's kind of how they see AI. They're not down for it. And they're also kind of conscious of the idea that it's coming for all their jobs. 17-year-old kid been coding since he's 5, thought he was going to walk into like a 7-figure job. I'm the greatest coder on the planet. Yeah, guess what? You don't need to code anymore because AI can do it. AI can do it faster. So, I don't know, just weird. Anyway, here's the president. The president tweeted this picture, this AI picture of himself walking across a tarmac looking very serious with an alien. Yeah, there you go. That's an alien. Now, if you want to know a little bit more specifically about that alien, I can break it down for you. What we're looking at here is one of the typical grays. Maybe you don't know this, but there are 2 known forms of alien species that we have been in contact with. We do not know if these 2 species know each other or work together, but we have, through craft crash craft and all of that sort of stuff. We have determined that there are two kinds of alien species visiting Earth. There are the Greys, as seen here. This is the Hollywood. Hollywood has adopted the Greys motif whenever they want to show an alien. So here you go. This is the Greys. The second category of alien that we UFO freaks believe that we've made some sort of not contact, well, contact, but dead, are the Nordics. They're the Nordics. They're the Nordics and the Greys. Now, the differences between the Nordics and the Greys, and by the way, this is why this is bad AI, because this looks to be about a 6'8" gray, doesn't it? Because the president's like 6'3", right? President's 6'3". This thing is, his head goes up a good foot past, Trump's almost. So let's say 6'8", 6'9". This is a 6'8" gray being depicted here by AI. That ain't a thing. That ain't a thing. That ain't a thing. Grays are between 5'5" and like 6 foot tall. That's like the biggest gray reported was a 6 foot tall gray. Okay. So this gray, what this is this is an alien that looks like a gray, but it has a Nordic's body. A Nordic is the other classification of alien that we have. The Nordic alien is, well, let's do it with pictures. Why not? I'll show you pictures. Y'all think I'm making this up like the Hollywood Clone Factory or some shit, but no, this is real stuff. Let's see. Greys versus Nordics. All right, let's see here. All right. There's got to be some good pictures, right? And of course it's ruined. It's all ruined. There's no good examples that I can see of like a side-by-side of what a depiction of a gray is and a depiction. Yeah, okay, yes, this is probably the best example of the Greys and the Nordics. Okay, here you go. All right, here we go. Trump, here, I gotta add this. Oh, I gotta stop sharing this one. All right, because that's a phony looking gray. All right, I'll share this one with you. All right. So here, these are Greys versus Nordics. Okay. All right. Now let me show you. Yeah, we're getting into this. All right. Welcome to my weird world. Okay. So here on the left, these are typical Greys. These are what the Greys look like. There's, the big eyes, the big giant eyes. These are famous Whitley Strieber's Communion dealt with Greys. Close Encounters dealt with Greys. These are the Greys. These are the Nordics. Do you see this? This is where the whole lizard thing comes from, the lizard people, okay? But what is not fully understood about the Nordics is that this is a suit. This is a suit. This is what the Nordics look like. Thus the name the Nordics. They look like Targaryens from the Game of Thrones universe. So the Nordics are very large. They are over 6 feet tall. I mean, they're not giants. They're like they're on average like 6'1", 6'2". So the Nordics are a lot taller. They wear an outer suit, but inside they look like they're from Sweden. So there you have it. So President Trump out here, he's out there. I'm not even going to get into why the president is doing this. President out there, fake bullshit alien stuff. There was no such thing as a 6'8" gray as depicted in that. It was the gray with like a Nordic body. Okay. So the president's doing that. Here's why. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I told you all about disclosure. Remember how I was like, oh, disclosure's coming. It's Friday. It's disclosure day. It was 2 weeks ago, Friday. And I also told you in the ramp up to disclosure day. Now you might think, hey, Pugs, I bet you're very excited about this. No, I wasn't. I told you, I'm not excited about this. Because first of all, nothing that this administration says, do I believe? I'm just like, yeah, whatever. So to have something as important to me as government disclosing what they know about UAPs and UFOs, it's kind of ruined because it's coming from these people. What I also told you about was we know that they deal in distractions, that anything that gets us to stop talking about Epstein, anything, that is what they're trying to do, and they will do it relentlessly. So what they did was, Trump, we'll talk about aliens very soon. He did that for like 2 weeks. And then it started to build this Friday, disclosure day, and I told you we weren't going to get anything. what we're going to get is stuff that we've already known about and talked about that has previously not officially been available to the public. Remember a couple of years ago when Trump gathered Cat Turd and all these other weird Twitter people, called them to the White House, told them and told us, the great peasantry, that they were going to be given all this Epstein information because disclosure was what Trump was about. Remember when they did that? It was all bullshit. It was all nonsense. It was all stuff that was already released. But the manipulation was the thing. Not them actually getting and releasing information. No, but we believing that we were getting. That's the thing. That's the manipulation. That's where they score their points, and that's what they care about. So they did that before. And that's exactly what this was with disclosure, just in a little bit different way. And it bombed. Thankfully, it bombed because the greater UFO community was like, huh. So nothing new, huh? Nothing. You're not going to cop to anything. So the alien thing bombed. And I promise you that there was a meeting that occurs in the White House where people pitch distractions. They pitch things. And I bet you that somebody in that meeting a couple of months ago went, we got to do the alien thing at some point. So it came time to do the alien thing because gas prices and all that shit. So they dropped the alien thing. Trump's tweeting on Truth Social, gonna talk about aliens. It's wild stuff. So Trump does that for a couple of weeks beforehand, and then they drop nothing, and nobody reacts to it. So now here we are 2 weeks later, and Trump's taking a shit at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's Saturday into Sunday. He's taking a shit. He's on his phone like he is. And he's like, hey, whatever happened with that alien thing? How come nobody really bid on that? So he just fucking sends that picture. So he sends that picture out. He's like, hey, remember the aliens? Ah! So desperate and pathetic. How about this one, aliens? And we're like, yeah, dude, you have no credibility. Nobody's going to take earth-shattering alien revolutions. Nobody's going to take it from you, pal. We're just not. If the next guy is totally different than you and he also says that, then okay, then maybe. But no, bro, no. All right, so Trump out there tweeting about the aliens because he's doing important things as president with, the economy where it is and the war and the strait. By the way, what is his plan with Iran? Like, what is his plan? He golfed all weekend. He's tweeting about aliens. What is his plan? Is his plan just to do that Homer meme? The Homer Simpson where he just kind of disappears back into the shrubs? Is that what's happening in Iran? Is that what's going on? We're just going to be like, yeah, we're going to stop talking about it or doing anything. We declared victory like a month ago. Gas prices are $5.19 a gallon on the south side of Chicago. So enjoy your golf trip, boss. Keep tweeting about aliens. We ain't buying. All right, what else do we have? Here you go. I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure Bobby Brainworm is all over it. Last week, it's a hantavirus from a cruise ship, and that wasn't really picking up the way we wanted. They're like, people are not freaking out about the hantavirus. So this weekend, they rolled out, the next one, which is Ebola is back, folks. That's right. It's not like we cured it in Dallas when it hit Dallas a couple of years ago. No, Ebola is back, and the World Health Organization, those communists, the World Health Organization has declared an Ebola outbreak in the Congo. Of course, it's everything. Why is everything? What? Okay, you know what? Look at me. All right, woo, took a breath. I'm glad I took a breath and thought some more before I started talking. Because there was a time in my life where I just blamed Africa for everything. Everything. Every disease, everything that came, everything was horrible. But now you can blame like China. Now we can also blame Southeast China, right? That area. Okay, so it's not good that there's two now, but it certainly doesn't, erase that Africa has long been, where all of these things happen. The AIDS monkey, African, born and raised. Ebola, African, born and raised. Ebola doesn't come from Kansas, okay? Ebola doesn't come from Birmingham, England. Why does it come from Africa? What are all these things that are there? I don't know. Anyway, the WHO has declared an Ebola outbreak The World Health Organization has declared Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo a public health emergency of international concern. The agency said the outbreak in the Congo's eastern Ituri province, I hear it's beautiful this time of year, when Ebola isn't outbreaking. The eastern Ituri province, which has seen around 246 suspected cases and 80 deaths reported, it does not meet the criteria for a pandemic emergency just yet. The WHO did warn that it could potentially be, quote, a much larger outbreak than what is currently being detected and reported, with significant risk of local and regional spread. All right. Local and regional, I'm fine with that. Early symptoms. Oh, let's do this. Yeah. Because sometimes I forget what Ebola is. Like, remember we came through COVID, and COVID was terrible, and COVID was terribly destructive because of, it killed a lot of people, killed a lot of our grandmas, killed a lot of people who were ill, killed a lot of people who were healthy. But, Ebola is a different thing, though. Ebola is like you shit out your insides. Ebola is like way more painful. Ebola is like way more, I think it's quicker, right? Anyway, let's ask AI. See this. Hey, can you tell me what happens when you get Ebola? What are the symptoms? And then what happens? How does it kill you? Okay, here we go. WHO, World Health Organization, has declared a regional outbreak of Ebola there in the eastern Congo. Okay, Ebola kills primarily through hypotensive shock and multi-organ failure caused by massive fluid loss and severe damage to blood vessels. See, that's the massive fluid loss. That's why I think you shit out your insides. Because it's like all of a sudden everything starts pouring out your butthole. Ugh, that's not good. The virus disables the body's immune defense and attacks the lining of blood vessels, causing them to leak fluid uncontrollably. So your blood vessels just start breaking open. If a person contracts Ebola, the progression of the illness typically unfolds in distinct phases. Yeah, what's the incubation, right? Because what was the incubation for COVID? Was it 9 days? Or was it shorter? 6 days? I don't know. Okay. It says here, after an incubation period of 2 to 21 days. The fuck? That doesn't... The 2 to 21 days, that tells me nothing. That's like either immediately or it's going to be 3 weeks from now when you've forgotten about it. Tells me nothing. After an incubation period of 2 to 21 days, the virus triggers a sudden aggressive immune response. Early symptoms mimic a severe case of the flu. High fever and chills, debilitating headache, severe muscle and joint aches, extreme fatigue, sore throat. Whew, but it gets worse. That's just phase 1. Phase 2 of Ebola. They call this the wet symptoms. These are days 4 through 7. Oh, look at that. You get to live a whole week with this. It says, as the virus rapidly replicates and destroys cells, it aggressively attacks the gastrointestinal tract, leading to severe fluid loss, profuse watery diarrhea, continuous vomiting, severe abdominal pain, a flat or raised red rash on the neck, trunk, and arms that may later peel, inability to retain fluids, leading to extreme rapid dehydration. Okay, and then you die. And then there's like another phase. This happens 7 to 10 days. I mean, what else? What else you going to give me here, Ebola? While often viewed as the primary symptom, significant bleeding only occurs in 40% of patients. It manifests as bleeding from the gums, nose, eyes. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, there you have it. WHO is saying that Ebola is back in a big way. Currently, they're in eastern Congo. But remember, we put a flag in that because these things do change quickly. I got nothing new to report on the hantavirus. Anything new? You guys see anything new? I don't know. I was busy with baseball all weekend, and then, All right, let's see here. What else do we want to talk about? All right, let's mention Dalton Etherly. That's right. Dalton Etherly, of course, better known as Chud the Builder, one of America's favorite internet trolls. He goes around, his whole thing is that he goes around with his big gay porn mustache and cowboy hat, acting like an alpha man, and, basically confronts black people and calls them the N-word. Basically what he says. His whole bit, he's got a bit. I shouldn't just oversimplify it, but I don't really want to give him the respect of, pretending he has a strategy, but he does. He kind of has a strategy. The whole thing that he's trying to do is that he is armed with a gun and he is trying to show that you can say whatever, but if you get violent, I'll kill you. So his whole thing is, I'm going to walk up to you on a street corner, black guy, and I'm going to call you the N-word to your face. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to punch me? Because I'll shoot you dead. And that's what I do on a live stream. And it seems to have happened. It seems to have finally happened. It seems to have finally come to a point where he drew his weapon and fired twice, shooting himself once and the guy that he had initially accosted and verbally abused secondly. This is one of them common sense things. If you are arguing, like if you're so radicalized that you are arguing that this motherfucker didn't get exactly what he deserved, he's in prison, he was arrested, the police are charging him, the police are saying that it's the other guy who's got the self-defense claim, which is fascinating. Like, I get it. There's a lot of you gun guys who aren't racist. There's a lot of you gun guys who see this as a gun issue, and you're going to argue for it. I'm just telling you, common sense says shut the fuck up on this one. Go sit down on this one, because you can't help but then be aligned with this guy who is absolutely not somebody that you want to fucking fight a battle for. You don't. All right, so just move on from this. So what the prosecutors are saying there in Tennessee is that this was premeditated. And you know what? They're fucking right. It was. This is what he does. They're saying that this was premeditated. He was prepared to do this, blah, blah. So whatever. It's going to be very complicated, and I'm sure it'll be debated ad nauseum over the next few months. But let's talk now about what's currently going on with Dalton Etherly, Chud the Builder, because last we heard he was held over on Friday. It was a preliminary arraignment on Friday. It wasn't a real bond hearing. But he was denied any opportunity at bond over the weekend by the judge, and it was placed temporarily in lieu of an actual bond hearing. It was placed at $1.25 million, to which he couldn't raise. He's like, so there you go. The guy who runs around talking, trash to black people, hey, N-word, the guy who's very famous for that, had to spend the weekend in county lockup in Tennessee. Okay, that's why. That's honestly, knowing that is why I slept so well this weekend. Every night, put my head on the pillow and I'd be like, I wonder what Chud the Builder's doing right now. And I'd go right to sleep. All right, so let's check in on him. We found some stuff out about him. This is interesting. Hold on, let me see. Here are some things that we have found out about Chud the Builder since he's been arrested. Not only do we all know his real name, Dalton Etherly. We know that he's got a baby mama that he's not married to. Remember, this is a guy who goes around as a white supremacist, promoting the white race and saying shit to black people, saying all kinds of horrible shit to black people. Chimping out. Look at him. What are you going to chimp out in? He says the N-word. I'll never be comfortable saying it. So, but he says the N-word. He's like, oh, chimping out, all that kind of stuff. Plays into all of the racial stereotypes about black people. Let's learn about Chud the Builder, shall we? Well, he's got a baby mama. No judgment. So do I. Although I don't have a baby mama. What I have is an ex-wife and mother of my child. It's more of a divorce. We were married. It's more of he got a baby mama. He got a chickie knocked up. He's behind on child support. So I don't know how much that he makes from his Chud the Builder. Hey, N-word, I'm superior to you. He's not making enough, apparently, to stay current with his child support. He also doesn't live with his son. He has a criminal record. Now, a lot of his criminal record has come from just the past couple of months where he gets relentlessly arrested for these things. He always bails out and all of that, and it's washed away, not major stuff. But, he has a criminal record on top of that. Like back before he was Chud the Builder, he was just a criminal dirtbag with a baby mama behind on child support. He has had 7 jobs over the course of 24 months. So back before he discovered the Chud the Builder thing, he couldn't hold a job. 7 jobs in 24 months. Of course, we know them about the antisocial behavior. These are all court-reviewed information. This is all information that was entered about his person. You know, you get this kind of report about who you are, and the judge goes, he seems like a good guy. Well, in this case, it's like, no, he doesn't seem like a good guy. Seems like a piece of shit. Antisocial behavior, we know about that. And on multiple times, he has been reckless with a firearm. They cite a case in Miami that was thrown out in 2023. Okay, there you go. So we learned all that good stuff about Chud the Builder. You can see why he feels so superior to black men in America. All of those horrible tropes, some of them are true. I mean, the poverty breeds a lot of those kinds of situations. And, you know, if you want to just point at poor black people and go, look at all them poor black people who don't have daddies, you know, that's fine. You can do the same for white people. You can do the same. And you're not, I notice you're not pointing at, like, you know, the millions and millions of normal black families in America. And by normal, I mean, you know, not the exception that you point at to sort of paint an entire race of people one way. My point is this: you can't, because look at Chud. Look at Chud. Behind on child support, got a baby mama, got a criminal record. Yeah. Projection. All of those things. I'm superior to you because it's projection. You see it all the time. All right, here's what's next for him. On May 21st, he's going to have a full bond hearing. That's later this week. This is where they'll actually, you know, put a number, and maybe, you know, MAGA will raise bond for him and he'll get out. May 21st, a full bond hearing is scheduled, whereas defense attorneys may argue to modify or lower the $1.25 million temporary amount issued on Friday. On May 26, 2026, a preliminary hearing is scheduled to review the state's evidence regarding the shooting. And there you have it. All right, so there we are. He is still in prison, which is good. All right, very excited about that. Over the weekend, there were a couple of other things over the weekend that I indulged in that I had some fun with. Did you guys anybody watch Netflix's first MMA live stream? I thought this was, this is interesting. I hate the UFC. I absolutely hate the UFC. I hate the company. I hate what it's become. It's gross. It is just, Dana White is a fool. I used to know Dana 20 years ago. I've been to dinner with Dana White, just me and Dana and like a couple of friends. That's happened a couple of times. He took us to Bossier City back in the very early days of the UFC. My show in Dallas was one of the only shows that would do UFC coverage. And we had a great relationship. Me and Dick Hunter, we started the very first nationally syndicated MMA radio show. Nobody cared about it yet because it was 2007. But we were all over the place. We had a bunch of little markets, and it was turning into something. And Dana was a big supporter of that. But now he's a billionaire, and he's like an evil billionaire, and he punched his wife. I will never go back to liking Dana White after seeing him just punch his wife in the face, open-handed slapped her on New Year's Eve a couple of years ago. The video went viral, and absolutely nothing happened to him. Absolutely nothing. Which is, you know, again, I always say this, of all the things that I've seen Trump try and pull, the one thing that I will use the rest of my life is don't apologize, move forward, double down. You know, that's what Dana White did. Dana White punched his wife, slapped her across the face, came out, apologized, and then moved on. And that was it. And for months, people were like, Zuffa must distance themselves from him. Zuffa is a $2 million, or AEM Entertainment, whoever owns them now. They are a multi-billion dollar. They must distance themselves. And, you know, Twitter was allowed to scream like that for about 72 hours. And guess what? They did nothing. Dana White said nothing. And everybody kind of moved on. Now Dana White's back to being Dana White. And everybody's like, hey, didn't he punch his wife in the face? And I'm like, he sure did. But we don't care. We don't care. Dana White's a piece of shit. I keep hearing weird noises, and it might be the tree people, or I don't know what it is. Okay. So I'm not a fan of the UFC. Netflix is trying to get into the MMA game, and I think that they could do I think that the UFC should be scared. I think that the UFC for years and years in the sport of mixed martial arts has been able to pretty much monopolize. They are without question the global stage for it. You have to fight in their league if you want to be recognized as the absolute greatest. And because of that, it's a monopoly. It's a company that is owned by dudes, and they get to. So what has happened over the years with the UFC is some of the greatest fighters in the world don't fight in the UFC. They fight over in the Pro Fighters League there in India, or they fight in Russia, or they fight in the Far East on shit that we here in America don't even see because we've got the UFC and we've convinced ourselves that it's the absolute best. But mark my words, there are a lot of terrific fighters. The greatest fighter in the world currently, at least in the heavyweight division, is Francis Ngannou. He walked away from the UFC a couple of years ago. He was the undefeated heavyweight champion of the UFC. Dana White didn't want to pay him what he felt that was worth, and Francis Ngannou said, okay, fine. Then you're going to have a joke belt forever because I'm going to leave my belt here in the ring, and I'm going to go fight anywhere that wants to pay me. Now, he didn't fight anywhere that wants to pay him for at least the last 18 months, but he did come back on Saturday. On Saturday night, the world's greatest heavyweight, not fighting in the UFC, decided to join up with Netflix. And this is why I say I think Netflix is going to be able to damage the UFC, because the UFC has sort of created a league where there are rankings and people have to fight this guy in order to fight this guy, and you move your way up and then you get to be the champion. But what Netflix can do is put on one-off fights for free agents, for big name. See, the argument always was with Dana White when he would turn the screws to these fighters. The argument for Dana White was, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go fight in India? You're a kid from Michigan. You don't want to fight in India. Okay, enjoy that. Sign the fucking contract, loser. That's kind of how the UFC negotiated with its fighters. But now Netflix is like, yeah, we're just going to do giant one-off fights, and they're going to get paid millions of dollars, and they're going to get... Jake Paul is behind this. Now, I'm not a fan of Jake Paul, but his MVP Promotions approached Netflix and said, the greatest fighters in the UFC will not sign their next contract if we say to them, why don't you come fight this guy on Netflix? See, the UFC has been able to grow and benefit and make billions of dollars for the people at the top of that organization because they have actively resisted the boxing model, which is the one-off fight. Independent promotions put on the one-off fight, charge what they want to charge for it, and they make all the money. That has never been an option for MMA fighters. You fight in the UFC but this weekend, Netflix said, nah, fam. We're going to start doing one-off fights. And the first big one-off fight that they did was Saturday night. And it's one of these, they called it a legacy fight. I didn't even talk about it last week, even though it's been promoted on Netflix for weeks. It was Gina Carano versus Ronda Rousey. That's right. A couple of women fighters, iconic women fighters both. Legendary women fighters both. One, Gina Carano, is the first woman fighter that we were ever introduced to. Okay. Now don't get that confused with she was the first great female fighter. Okay. Don't, because she wasn't. Gina Carano was just hot. And Gina Carano was a little bit into kickboxing and all that stuff. So when they needed a woman to be the first, they just elevated Gina Carano. And they put her up against a bunch of tomato cans, and she won. And, when people started, getting good, when women fighters started getting good, Chris Cyborg Sanchez, when she started to rise, Gina Carano went, yeah, I'm going to go do Star Wars shows. So Gina Carano left fighting and became an actress. She was never a real fighter. She was never a truly great female fighter the way we have now come to know female fighters in mixed martial arts. Ronda Rousey, however, is a legit great female fighter. One-dimensional. She has an armbar move that the first 13 fights of her career, she ended in the first 10 seconds because nobody she fought could do anything about her one move. this armbar. And when you talk about the move, I mean, this is Olympic caliber. She was an Olympic judo medalist. So she comes in with like this world-class skill that a lot of people in MMA don't have, especially women. So she just destroyed every woman her entire career. Then she fought a woman who punched her in the face. And she had never been punched in the face before because all she did was do an armbar. And that kind of ended Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey went, okay, I'm done. I want to go have babies, whatever. She was immediately inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame because she was the most dominant female fighter at her peak that I have ever seen. No Ronda Rousey fight lasted more than a minute. They were over like that because nobody could defend the armbar. So come Saturday night's fight, Netflix throwing their hat into the, hey, pay attention to us. We're doing UFC stuff, type stuff, MMA stuff. We're doing MMA now. And how do they get our attention? They throw up this incredibly stupid fight as a main card that we're all interested in. I was interested in it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's all right. Because, Gina Carano, I have great memories of her. I interviewed her as well. And Dick and I were some of the first people, I think, to interview Ronda Rousey. So, I have both of these chicks. They are icons. But again, don't forget, one is an icon because she is legitimately one of the greatest female fighters in the history of fighting. And the other is an icon because she was first. And they needed a hot chick. And she was hot. So that's what we have. Now, for years, Ronda Rousey has always spoken very kindly of Gina Carano. All women fighters speak kindly of Gina Carano. Just a shout out to Gina Carano. If not for her, we wouldn't be here. Right? That's been her place. But it's largely ceremonial. Okay? It's a largely ceremonial thing. So this is what Netflix and Jake Paul and MVP Promotions decided to roll out as their eye-grabbing, lead or main event for their first MMA thing. Now, here's why I say this is going to be a problem for the UFC. That card, that's a circus card. That's a circus fight. That's two people. That's a bar fight. That's an argument that people have had for years. Oh, who's better, Gina Carano or Ronda Rousey, right? And anybody smart is like, well, Rousey, but it's one of those things. What if they fought, And so Netflix did it. But what if they fought? But the rest of the card, and I won't give away anything because I think it's still available there on Netflix. You can watch it. I'm going to give away Ronda and Gina, but I won't give away the rest. One of the best MMA cards I have seen ever. Whatever influenced Netflix and the combination of Netflix and Jake Paul and the millions of dollars, they did not have scab fights. They did not have a whole bunch of guys who you've never heard of. They stacked it with some huge names. One of my favorite fighters of all time, Nate Diaz, fought Mike Perry in an absolute war. The greatest living heavyweight, the number one pound for pound heavyweight in the world, fought on that card before we were treated to the silliness of Gina Carano and Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey. Junior Dos Santos fought. I mean, it was fun. It was a very fun card, and I'm sitting here watching it, and I'm going, yeah, fuck you, Dana. You're in trouble. You are in trouble because the next time, whoever the biggest, most important fighter in the UFC is, the next time it comes time for him to sign a fight, Netflix is going to be like, before you sign, come talk to us. Who do you want to fight? You want to make 10 times more? You want to be on Netflix, something that every home in America has. That's the sell. Anyway, I thought it was a raging success for Netflix. And I begrudgingly give Jake Paul credit, but he seems to know what he's doing. He really does. He seems to know what he's doing. I want to be like, oh, just a YouTuber's now a millionaire. But it's what he did. It's what he did after that. Yes, he's a douche. But, man, I'm telling you, he seems to see things. And it's a great opportunity. Netflix. There you go. Anyway, Netflix MMA. So the fight started. And I was talking to my kid. He was like, so what do you think's going to happen? Because, both these girls predate him. Both these girls. He doesn't know who these girls are, right? So he's like, what do you think's going to happen? I go, well, here's what's going to happen. They're going to ring the bell, and before you get comfortable, it is going to be over. because Gina Carano is going to tap. I said to my kid as a joke, Gina Carano will tap to an arm bar before 30 seconds. So I said to my son, 30 seconds. All the hype for this fight, this will not go more than 30 seconds. Gina Carano will get taken down to the ground in the opening seconds, and then immediately Ronda Rousey will transition to an armbar. I said that would happen in 30 seconds. I was wrong. It happened in 12 seconds. All of 12 seconds. And then they embraced, and Gina Carano tapped right away. It was just amazing. It was amazing. I felt like I had been transported to a Ronda Rousey fight in the year 2013, where Ronda would come out and you'd all go, she's just going to armbar her in 10 seconds. And she would. You'd be like, oh, man. Everybody knows. Everybody who fights Ronda Rousey knows that all they've got to do is defend the armbar. And nobody has ever been able to. Is there footage of it? I'm wondering if there's footage of it. That's the only one I'll ruin for you. Because if you like that kind of stuff, I'm sure it's available on Netflix. You can probably just watch it. And there's a lot of really good fights. Let's see. The good thing is we can probably, oh, geez. All right, there you go. All right, let's see. The whole fight. Okay, is this the whole fight? Yeah, okay. Here we go. Here's the whole fight. And it's put out by Netflix Sports. All right. But again, don't be dissuaded by this. This was the stupid circus fight at the top that was supposed to get our attention. The rest of the card was awesome. The rest of the card was awesome and competitive and great and all of that stuff. All right, here you go. This is, all right. So here we are. We're 10 seconds into the fight. The fight started at 5 minutes. It is now 4 minutes and 49 seconds in. Ronda Rousey has already taken Gina Carano down. Gina Carano's on her back to the Olympic medalist. Gina Carano's on her back, and Ronda is now about to just throw a couple of punches. She's going to soften her up a little. This is what Ronda does. She takes you down. She punches you a couple of times in the face, and then when you're like, stop punching me in the face, she takes your arm and basically breaks it in half. Nobody wants Ronda to break their arm, so everybody knows as soon as she sinks it, start tapping because Ronda will break your arm. She has broken girls' arms before. So it's interesting to note because watch how quickly Gina Carano is like, nope, I'm done. Here we go. Again, 10 seconds in.
Out in full mount, ground and pound.
Here it is. Now this is the arm bar. This is what this woman does better than anyone in the history of the world. Gina Carano has probably spent the last year training to not have this happen. Everybody who has ever fought Ronda Rousey trained exclusively to not have this happen. And no one has been able to stop it, and that's why she's legendary.
Out in full mount, ground and pound. Rousey looking for the arm, and already the arm, it's over.
She tapped immediately. She cranked the arm, and immediately you see Gina's little hand going, okay, all right, so we're friends. She doesn't want to break my arm. We're actually friends in real life. Look at it, right there's Gina's hand. She's like,
Mamma mia! Out in full mount, ground and pound. Rousey looking for the arm, and already the arm, it's over. Mamma mia! It is just incredible. The most devastating finish in MMA history. And Ronda Rousey.
Look at Gina. Gina walked into this fight going, she's going to armbar me like in a minute. There is nothing I can do about it. And Ronda's like, fuck, that was quicker than I thought. I do love that. I do love this aspect of the sport, that so many of these people really do have high regard for each other. And after, you get your ass kicked, there is always the hug and the bowing, or, in some cases praying together. It is very cool.
And already the arm, it's over. Mamma mia! It is just incredible. The most devastating finish in MMA.
Okay, wait, Gina's face right there. Look at Gina's face. She cannot believe. Well, she can believe it. She's like, well, we just made a cool $2 million or whatever they made. Great money. Gina just made a shit ton of money because of her name. And now look at her.
And Ronda Rousey Rousey just took another arm hostage, and just like that, out in full mount,
All right, there you have it.
Rousey looking for the arm, and already the arm, it's over.
Can't close out. I couldn't close out of that. Ronda Rousey lost 100 pounds. 100. She lost 100 pounds for that fight. I think she came in at 145 or something like that. I think that's what the weight limit was. She was up to like 250 pounds. She just had a baby. She had a baby, and she just started packing it on and all that. So she wasn't like, Olympic Ronda Rousey. 100 pounds to do that for 12 minutes of work. It was great. I thought it was great. Good for Netflix, and begrudging congratulations to Jake Paul. Oh, one other thing that I thought was interesting about it, and I applaud them, and I love that Netflix did it. And Netflix, there was no like qualifying. Nobody prefaced it. Cain Velasquez, who is one of the greatest UFC heavyweight champions in history. He's older now. He's probably 50 or so, but he doesn't fight anymore. But Cain Velasquez, one of the great UFC heavyweight champions in history. Cain Velasquez has a situation, a very public, very scary situation a couple of years ago, where he was charged with the attempted murder of 2 people. Former retired UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez charged with murder of 2 people. He went to jail. He pled no contest, testified in court. I did this. Do what you have to, judge. And he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Cain Velasquez. This is, by the way, just about 18 months ago. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and 4 years of post-prison monitoring or whatever, right? So 9 years total. They let him out 2 months ago. 2 months ago, they let him out. They sentenced him. They did all by the book and everything. Okay, because he pled no contest. And they said, did you try to kill these people? And he said, yeah, I did. I tried to kill them. And they gave him what they had to. But then at the very first opportunity, they let him free. They're like, go. Because what I think a lot of people don't know is that the backstory there, Cain Velasquez is not just some former violent UFC champion who went to jail for the attempted murder of 2 people. It's a much more complicated story. Cain Velasquez went to jail because, yes, he did. He led police on a chase where he was shooting at people in the car in front of him. Cain Velasquez went to a house, kicked in the door, started beating people up, pulled his gun, and apparently chased people out the door. That led to a car chase, which Cain Velasquez chased these people down, shooting at their car. Police were in response. Police saw it. So he gets arrested. He goes to trial and all that kind of stuff, and he pleads not guilty. Or he pleads guilty. He's like, yeah, I did it. And they throw the book at him. Threw the book at him, but he was released after only like 8 months. They're like, all right, 8 months, you big knucklehead, get out of here. And they let him go. Why did they let him go? Because what isn't known about that story is that when he went to that house and kicked in that door, that house wasn't just a house. It was one of these nursery care places. Cain Velasquez's kids had been molested by the people in that house. And he had just found out about it. And he found out the specific people who had diddled his kid or his nephew or whatever it was. But those were the people that he chased. Those were the people that he lost his shit and was firing at. All terrible, wrong acts. I can't sit here and preach against PCA and how he doesn't have the mental toughness to be able to tune out people in the stands and then somehow sit here and applaud Cain Velasquez for trying to murder the people that molested his kids. All I'm saying is that's why they let him out. They let him out because on some level they had to throw the book at him, but they also knew that he didn't just lose his shit and start, decide, I'm going to kill people at random. He wasn't doing it to steal a car. He wasn't doing it for, any kind of gain. It was specific situations. And he did 8 months, and it's like, okay, you're going to think more next time, right, Cain? And let's hope there isn't a next time. But that's what that's all about. So Cain Velasquez has kind of been persona non grata around MMA circles. Well, probably because he was in prison for 8 months. But even before that, people stopped talking about him because this is a very nuanced story. And it's a bad story for MMA. Oh, you're telling me one of their most glorified champions is actually a double murder or attempted double murder, right? It's just not good. Netflix embraced him. Netflix. I saw Cain Velasquez for the first time on Saturday night. They interviewed him. He did some fight breakdowns, some diagnostics. They didn't mention one thing about where he'd been, and I thought that was great because I always liked Cain Velasquez. And when, he did what he did, I was disappointed that he couldn't, handle it in a more mature way. But he lost his shit. And I don't know, if somebody hurt my kid, I don't really know how I would behave in like the 45 minutes following me learning that somebody did this to my kid, which is a very important context to this story. Cain Velasquez had just been told, he had just found out that his child had been molested. So, there's a lot of moving parts. Don't be lazy about these things. Anyway, it was very nice of Netflix to sort of welcome Cain Velasquez back without even welcoming him back. It was just a no-brainer. It was like, oh, here we are with, multi-time UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez, the legend. Hey, Cain, what do you... And then he did his thing. And I was like, man, that's great. That's great. Good for Cain. I immediately had to Google it. I'm like, did he get out of prison? I didn't even know he was out of prison. And then I got the whole story. Saturday Night Live, can't show any clips of this, but Saturday Night Live ended their season, the 51st season, with Will Ferrell as host and Paul McCartney as musical guest. Cold Open featured maybe something in the future that we will see again, which is Will Ferrell as Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. It's become a thing over the last couple of years with Saturday Night Live, where they take a well-known Hollywood celebrity and they make them play some person from the current political landscape. Of course, Sean Spicer and Melissa McCarthy, Tina Fey and Sarah Palin, Alec Baldwin and Donald Trump for a period of time, right? Currently, we've got Kash Patel being portrayed by what that guy's name from Parks and Recreation. Will Ferrell is now Saturday Night Live's Jeffrey Epstein. And he made his debut. I encourage you to go find it on YouTube or wherever, but I ain't playing it because every time I try to play something from Saturday Night Live, it, screws up the whole algorithm or whatever. Okay, so there you go. That was something fun from the weekend as well. Will Ferrell is now, I guess, officially, I don't know if he's going to come maybe next year because that's it. We're done for the summer. Maybe if they do it, maybe again. I don't know. There's some big Jeffrey Epstein news. All right, let's see. Let's run through a couple of, okay, so let me do this one. I promised you at the start of the show I was going to tell you this because I don't think I've ever heard it from this perspective. I've heard this story. This is Hollywood mythology of the highest order. Let me tell you how I heard this story. So the story that I heard was that Robin Givens, who was still on Head of the Class, was... she was married to Mike Tyson, the heavyweight champion of the world. Robin Givens on Head of the Class started to have a torrid affair with one of the extras on Head of the Class, a person who was just filling out the class. Head of the Class was, I've seen pictures of him in this, so we do know that he was a part of this, but Head of the Class was a TV show about a high school classroom. And there was only about 5 or 6 stars, and the classroom probably had 30 people. So there were other people filling out the classroom. Well, Robin Givens started having an affair with one of those young actors who were filling out the classroom. And that actor, of course, was Brad Pitt. So while Robin Givens is married to Mike Tyson, and the marriage, if you remember, maybe you're not old enough, but I am, very tumultuous. There was a lot of stuff in that marriage that made headlines. Okay, so Robin Givens is apparently at, this is how I've heard the story. So Robin Givens was apparently back at her place, her home that she shares with Mike Tyson, and she was having sex with young Brad Pitt, Robin Givens and Brad Pitt. Mike Tyson came home unexpectedly, right? This is the old Hollywood trope of the philandering playboy having sex with the married woman, and the husband comes home early from the business trip or whatever, and he's got to go out the window, and we've all seen it a million times. And now we can picture it here with our cast of players. Robin Givens, Brad Pitt, and the husband who's home early is the deadliest man on the planet. Hold on. Hold on, my kid is texting me. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, guys. We've got to divulge. I gotta do some dadding. Oh, maybe he can't. Oh, maybe he can't talk. Maybe he's in. Okay, never mind. All right, I'm gonna hang up. I just realized that. So I get this text from my son. He's like, "Hey, you got the Disney Plus login?" I'm like, first of all, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. Aren't you in school? He says, "Got a 45-minute buffer in my day. Want to watch some Punisher?" All right. So I was going to say, first of all, why do you have a 45-minute break in your day? And secondly, well, why do you have to log in again? Why don't you save the login? This isn't the first time. You know what? I'm just ignoring him. Just going to ignore him. Back. Oh, Christ. Yeah. Okay, Mikey D. Now you're telling me here because I've seen it. I've seen what's going on here with the supposed active shooter situation. But I didn't see it to any extent. So I've kind of been like, I don't see it as being anything major right now. But, if you're asking me to look into it, I've been sort of trying to ignore it. Right. Hold on. Let's see. Before we get into our Mike Tyson story. Oh, crap. All right. Let me quickly, I'll run through the Mike Tyson story because I don't want to get that far. Okay. So basically, Mike Tyson comes home, Brad Pitt screwing. Brad Pitt has to run away from Mike Tyson, famous Hollywood story. Never heard Brad Pitt talk about it. I guess Robin Givens wrote about it in a book. I'm not entirely sure Mike Tyson has spoken about it, but Mike Tyson speaks about it here. So whether or not we think it's true, apparently it is true. But here is how Mike Tyson remembers that story. Now, remember, I was told that Mike Tyson came home early and they were in the bed and all that. Apparently, no. Apparently, it happened in their long driveway. They've got a long driveway, and apparently, Robin Givens was giving Brad Pitt, well, what's I guess known in some circles as roadhead. So here's Mike Tyson talking about finding his wife, giving roadhead to Brad Pitt, who, by the way, and it should be noted, Brad Pitt was not Brad Pitt at this point. Brad Pitt was just some good-looking young actor wannabe. Could have gone either way for him. Could have turned out to be gay porn. He could be a dead junkie in a Vegas hotel room, or he could become Brad Pitt. At this point, he wasn't Brad Pitt.
Me and my wife was going through a divorce. We weren't getting back, but we were still fucking, right?
Okay.
We were always fucking every night. We were still fucking. Then we fighting in the paper. Then we fucking night. But one day.
All right, so I don't know how bad the echo is here. I tried to control it right there. But what he's saying is my wife and I, we were going through a divorce, but we were still banging. We would bang every night and then a fight and then divorce is still going and it would be in the paper. So he's just kind of explaining what those of us who were there remember as the relationship between Mike Tyson and Robin Givens.
Me and my wife was going through a divorce. We weren't getting back, but we were still fucking, right?
Okay.
We were always fucking every night. We were still fucking. Then we fighting in the paper. Then we fucking night. But one day, I went over her house to fuck her. She wasn't home. Nobody. And then driving up the road with the BMW that I bought her, and she had some.
The fact that he mentions it, all these years later, shows that he ain't really over it yet. And here she comes driving up in the BMW, the one that I bought her.
It was one of her the road. I went over her house to fuck her. She wasn't home. Nobody. And then driving up the road with the BMW that I bought her, and she had some. I thought it was one of her friends from head of the class, but it wasn't one of her friends. It was some nigga, Brad Pitt, trying to get some head.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, so...
that honky was with her?
Yeah. White motherfucker.
Damn, bro. Dang, bro. That honky was trying to slide, huh?
Dirty dog.
All right, there you have it. Mike Tyson. He's basically brain dead at this point, but we love him. We love him. I always used to say about Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson is America's tranquilized tiger. Mike Tyson's got tigers and all that kind of stuff. Mike Tyson is a celebrity. He's allowed to go places But really, Mike Tyson he's only allowed to go places because he's on drugs now. He's all tranquilized. Do you remember when Mike Tyson wasn't tranquilized? You couldn't send him to the Grammy Awards. No, it was going to be a problem. God. All right. Cleanse the palate. Apparently, we have a situation here. God, how do you transition into this? All right, what is this? Hold on. Let me see something. Let's see. Multiple people have been shot. Breaking news, we have an active shooter at the Islamic Center of San Diego. Reports came in at 11:40 a.m., 11:40, 12:40, 1:40. So just about an hour or so, hour and a half ago, hour and 20 minutes. It's 3 o'clock now. Active shooter at the Islamic Center of San Diego. Reports came in at 11:40 a.m. Interstate 805 and Balboa Avenue shut down in both directions. San Diego police asking all residents to stay indoors. Details are still developing. All right, let's look at some of this. All right, I'm here. Let me. Hold on. I gotta address the kid now. I'm streaming now. I'll get it to you later. I'll get it to you later. I'm texting with my 17-year-old son. I'll get it to you later. And by the way, no, I don't have Disney Plus, but his grandma does. I'm streaming now. I'll get it to you later. And now I got to do the dad thing. Why isn't it saved? Why didn't you save it? I mean, I only have to log into an app once, and then every time I log into it, it's saved. Kids. Dumbass. I'm going to add dumbass. I'm adding dumbass. Sorry, call me a bad dad. But instead I said, why didn't you save it, dumbass? All right, sorry. Now back to like something that's like, kind of serious that's happening. By the way, let me see what the scanners, I have the scanners turned off during the show. So let's see if, yeah. All right, let's go to 222, 237. Yeah, we've got about 12,000 people listening live to the San Diego scanner. But I don't think that San Diego is one of the cities that does live scanning. So, okay. So let me, I guess we'll look at some of the video right here as I try and get caught up. Again, apparently there's an active shooter in San Diego, California at the Islamic Center. All right, so let's see here. Here's the first video. All right, let's see. This is a raw video from the scene. All right, there's nothing there. All right, there you go. That was not really showing us anything. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, crap. I'm sorry. So I wonder if it should be San Diego. Like, what is the best way to follow this? San Diego or Islamic Center? You should really be careful about what threads in breaking news that you follow, because the way you word it will give you agendas, other people's agendas. Like I'm trying to determine what hashtag for this event will give me the best in San Diego. I'm going with San Diego. Like Islamic Center, like if it's Islamic Center, I might just get a whole bunch of people going, God damn Islamic, so you got to be careful about how you search these things, especially if you want to learn something. So San Diego seems pretty down the middle. All right. What is this, live coverage? Guys, please give me a break here. I'm playing catch up. Doing live coverage. All right, so here, this comes to us from Brian Allen. Let's see what this is.
Escorted by these armed police officers to try to get to safety. And producers, please interrupt me if we do get some escorted by these.
All right, so what? Just stupid little. All right, there's that one. Here's more.
Get here. So again, not able to get any direct information. We can only tell you what we can see from this point. But what we can see, I have to say, does not look good. Get here. So
okay, once again,
any direct information. We can only tell you.
Not getting anything from that clip. Aerial footage. What's this? Let's see what this is. Oh, we just saw that. Okay, don't need that again. All right, well, those appear to be the only two clips that we have. Oh, is this how CNN broke it? All right, let's see how they did it.
We have breaking news. Police say they're responding to reports of an active shooter at Islamic Center of San Diego.
These are live images of that center where you see a sizable law enforcement presence outside. Let's.
All right, well, there you go. That's all we get from that. Okay. Now, earlier today, when we were talking about the Austin spree shooting situation that occurred between Saturday and Sunday of yesterday, you heard me yelling about how major cable news networks couldn't be bothered on Saturday and Sunday to cover that. And I was angry. I was like, have we normalized it to the point where it's not that big of a deal? Here's the difference between then and today, because you might say, well, Pugs, you were just saying that it's been normalized, and here they are covering it, probably because it's Islamic, right? Because it's Islamic is what. That's what a lot of you are probably thinking right now, that the only reason that this is being covered is because it concerns Islamic people. No, it's being covered today because it's fucking Monday. Because people are actually there at work. See, my anger about them not covering the Austin shooting, maybe I wasn't clear, had a lot to do with their decision that news that happens on Saturday and Sunday isn't important. But yeah, they're going to cover this today. There's a shooting outside San Diego or inside San Diego. It is an Islamic mosque developing. Yeah, of course. All the cable news channels are going to be on this because it's Monday afternoon and they're at full staff, and this is what they do. The problem is on Saturday when they've got a skeleton staff and there is some major incident happening, and they choose to just not cover the incident rather than bring people in. That was my problem over the weekend. That to them, it's like, this doesn't have a body count that would warrant us bringing Anderson Cooper in. Anderson Cooper's on his boat this weekend. You think, how many are dead before we call Anderson? That was my problem. So, yeah, I'm glad they're covering this today. This is the kind of thing that should be covered. All right, let me see what is the latest that I can find out about this. What are you hearing in the chat room? Guys, you folks in the chat room, you have a much better ability to gather news information right now than I do, because I'm jumping around between. All right, here's ABC News. Should we let ABC News explain it to us? Looks like this is a pretty chunky piece. All right, here we go.
Boarding children out of that. Authorities now responding to the scene of a reported active shooter at the Islamic Center of San Diego. That's in the Claremont Mesa area. These are live images showing the officers on the ground, guns drawn. They're escorting children out of that center. Dozens of people running out at times, trying to get more information. Our Alex Stone is on the story.
That should be heartbreaking. Just the sight of, 36 kids, little kids, the cute ones, before they start having their own opinions and being like little jerk offs. That happens around 12, 13. These are the good ones. These are the good kids. These are the ones that we like this age. So in these events where they're all holding hands, these little 7-year-olds, they're holding hands and maybe singing songs because they are still young enough that they can be distracted from the actual horror that is happening around them. Anyway, here's more from ABC News.
Out of LA for us. What do we know, Alex?
Well, Kara, I've been talking to a number of police officers in San Diego who we talk to quite a bit, and they are very busy right now with their police radios that have been going off in the background. They've just said, Alex, this is the real deal, and they hung up from there. But you can see from these images right now, and we don't know a lot. They don't seem to know a lot. Those almost look like children coming out arm in arm, being brought out the way that police now do in an active shooter situation. We know it is very active right now. Governor Gavin Newsom has been advised as well, but police are responding in right now, Kira.
We know the center has a school as well, pre-K through third grade, which makes sense as we're watching police there leading the children across the street to a safe area. We can see one of the women that was inside the mosque there being led by San Diego police officers. Channel 10, the ABC station in San Diego, is reporting that there is at least one person reported dead in this incident. Alex, I don't know what you're hearing and what you've been able to get from your side of things, but apparently this is still ongoing, and there are no reports yet, according to our ABC station in San Diego, that they have apprehended anybody at this time.
No, we don't know if they've apprehended anybody, and it's sometimes hard to know in San Diego, like a lot of police departments around the country right now, Kira, that they have encrypted their radios, so not like in old times where you can just listen to scanner traffic and know what's going on. You can see right here, these are Bearcat vehicles.
All right, we'll stop. There we go. So what they just said there is why I get notifications on my scanner that this is happening. But some cities don't allow their scanner over there. Austin did. Austin and the surrounding area of Texas yesterday did. So, but yeah, San Diego. That's why I'm plugged into the scanner, and the scanner is turned all the way up, and nothing. We are hearing nothing about this. All right, let's let's go to. Let's check in on this for a little bit. This is local. Oh, this is San Francisco. Well, looks like they're covering it live. KTVU Fox 2 San Francisco apparently is covering this live. Let's check in on some of that. Okay, here we go. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, cool sound. All right, so this is not actually. All right, that wasn't it. Seems to be a police helicopter somewhere floating over the scene. Fox 2 Detroit. San Diego, what is this? I am KAT. There's you guys, there are so many fake news stations. All right. So all of these sites on YouTube that are claiming to be covering this live, they all seem to just be a satellite. Where's my... See, what is this? Why am I still on the bottom here? What is happening here? All right, and so now what is this? Why won't this go away? All right, I guess I just put it away. There you go. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there's... Well, let's see what AI. Let's see what AI says instead of me going to a million different sites. What can you tell me? Give me all the pertinent details and use as many sources, news sources, legitimate legacy news sources as you can find. What can you tell me about the current shooting situation at the Islamic Center in San Diego? I got to do that with AI. I got to give it every little bit of information. Sound like a crazy person. All right, here we go. The active shooter situation is unfolding at the Islamic Center of San Diego in the Claremont Mesa community. Law enforcement reports that the scene remains active but contained, with significant tactical and emergency resources deployed. At least one casualty has been reported. I don't like that word, casualty. I always thought casualty means death, but no, it means just, mayhem. Injury sustained through mayhem. Well, I don't know if that's the actual definition, but that's kind of what I understand it to be now. But I always thought when they said there were 5 casualties, I'd be like, oh, 5 dead. No. It says here, at least 1 casualty has been reported by mosque leadership, though police have not yet formally confirmed the total number of injuries or fatalities. New York Times, NBC News, CNN, and Reuters, as well as local outlets such as the San Diego Union Tribune, are actively tracking the situation. Here's the timeline at apparently 11:40 a.m. Pacific time. That's 11:40, 12:40, 1:40 our time. The shooting was reported to police. The shooting is centered at the Islamic Center. Let's see here. It's roughly 8 miles north of downtown San Diego. The center is the largest mosque in San Diego County and houses the Al Rashid School. That's the school where we saw those little kids walking across the street. Ahmad Shabak, the chairman of the Islamic Center, has confirmed in an email to the New York Times that at least 1 security guard has been killed. Separately, the Associated Press has cited a San Diego Police Department officer as stating they believe multiple people have been shot. Law enforcement has not released a formal casualty count. Aerial live feeds from NBC San Diego showed heavy armed SWAT officers escorting groups of young children and adults safely away from the mosque. We looked at that. We saw that. The San Diego Police Department has established an official family reunification center. Okay, that doesn't pertain to any of us. What else do we have? Pretty thorough job by AI here, got to be honest. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. What? That's a made-up name. That's like a comedy show name. This is my friend, Todd Gloria. It's not a real name. Todd, first of all, not great. When do you think the last Todd was born? What do you think? Like there was a period of time when like Todds were being born left and right. I think like 1965 to like 1980. I think that Todd was a real player in the name game. A boy like Todd. I'm going to name him Todd. When do you think the last Todd was born? I can't imagine anyone's been named Todd in the last 10 years, right? And then the last name is Gloria. Todd Gloria. All right, I don't know why I'm riffing on the name of the San Diego mayor at a time when his city seems to be under assault from monsters. But okay, let's see. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria has confirmed via X that emergency personnel are on the scene actively working to protect the community and secure the area. He asked all citizens to entirely avoid the Claremont area. All right. Well, I mean, if this story had started 2 hours ago, we might be going for another couple hours, but I can't do that. I got to get out of here. All right, guys, we're going to wrap the show up today. That'll be that with that. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for more just regular talk, hot topics discussed from me and you. Appreciate you. Do I have anything else I need to mention? I don't think so. Other than like, follow, subscribe, tell a friend. Tomorrow, day 2 of Bring a Friend Week. None of you going to bring a friend. All right, we'll see you then. Bye.